No, I don't believe it. You guys are definitely lying to me, right? Luke Brooks glared at Ethan Ford and shouted. Ethan shrugged and laughed. Luke, what would it take for you to believe it? Unless Grace kisses you. Otherwise, I won't believe it. Luke was certain Grace Miller wouldn't do such a thing. If they were faking it, just pretending to be a couple, Grace would definitely refuse to kiss Ethan in front of so many people. Given Grace's personality, she'd probably get angry out of embarrassment and storm off. As long as these two were fake, it meant Grace was just using it as an excuse to avoid him. I still have a chance. Ha ha ha. I'm so smart. Luke crossed his arms, smirking triumphantly, looking full of confidence. Grace, I told you they were a fake couple. Look, you're hesitating. Luke noticed Grace blushing and not moving, which made him even more certain. Grace just felt there were too many people in the cafeteria and was a bit shy, but being provoked by Luke like this, she steeled her heart. Fine, a kiss it is. Humph. Grace blushed and planted a loud smooch on Ethan's cheek. Boom! The scene struck Luke's head like a bolt of lightning. Oh no! He slumped to the ground again, completely devastated. The cafeteria instantly erupted in an uproar. They really are a couple. That's it. Zero chance now. Holy crap. Who is that kid? He's lucky as hell. Damn it. I am jealous. So envious. At the door, Ryan Yates also slumped to the ground, looking bewildered. No. Ever since he saw Grace's photo, he had been thinking about her day and night, crushing on her madly. He didn't expect this. He really didn't expect this. Grace and this kid were so sweet together. They didn't even leave a crack for someone to pry them apart. It hurt. It really hurt. Inside the cafeteria, Luke swayed as he climbed up from the floor, his eyes spitting fire of jealousy as he stared at Ethan. Ethan Ford, you stole my firecrackers when we were kids. You stole my position as class representative in middle school. And now in college, you steal my goddess. I am at war with you. Ethan, you remember stuff from that long ago? You hold a grudge way too long. But I remember something about you too. You were watching porn in 7th grade. Ethan laughed. As soon as these words came out, everyone on the scene looked at Luke with weird expressions. Luke's face turned beet red from shame, and he braced himself to deny it. No, I didn't. Don't believe him, everyone. He's slandering me. He's slandering me. Ethan continued. And you did it 3 times. Heh. Puffed. Grace covered her mouth and laughed, but she secretly pinched Ethan and whispered, You're so bad. Luke's face was flushed, and he stammered. Ethan, don't change the subject. Mark my words, I won't give up, and you won't get my approval. I will be back. Back to duel you. After saying that, Luke turned and ran. If he didn't leave now, he'd have to find a crack in the floor to crawl into. It was too humiliating. Just as he walked out of the cafeteria door, he bumped into Ryan Yates. Dude, sorry, let me through, Luke said with a dark face. Brother, I understand your mood. I understand it too well, Ryan said solemnly. To be honest, I also have a crush on Grace Miller. Ryan said solemnly. Holy crap, so we're love rivals? And you dare to block me? Are you lighting a lantern in the toilet? Looking for shit? Eta, Luke struck a fighting pose, staring at Ryan warily. Hey, don't be like that. We should form a united front, Ryan said hurriedly. Think about it. Grace's boyfriend is that kid right now, right? We both belong to the third-party suitors, aka the third wheel. Oh no, the secret admirers. Our goal is the same. To take the top spot. Ryan explained patiently. Luke thought about it carefully. It seemed that actually made sense. Fine, even if you're right. Why are you blocking me? Luke looked him up and down. From now on, we're comrades. We have to coordinate our actions. For example, you take the front, I take the back. You charge the lines, and I'll provide rear support. Ryan said seriously. Hey, why should I charge the lines while you hide in the back? You think I'm stupid? Luke rolled his eyes at him. Ryan gave a dry laugh. Isn't that how it works? Cough, cough, don't be so literal. I was just giving an example. Just an example. Anyway, the point is, from now on we are partners. Accomplices. The goal is to get rid of Ethan Ford first. Trust me, as long as you swing the hoe well enough, no wall is too tough to dig through. Anything is possible. You and I are dark horses. Luke nodded and said, I acknowledge you, the strongest secret admirer. But since we're partners, how about we pick a team name? Ryan, what's going on in this guy's brain? Okay, what name do you propose? Luke thought for a moment and said, how about we call ourselves the Avengers? That title sounds promising. I agree. By the way, forgot to introduce myself. I'm Ryan Yates. Ryan said seriously. I'm Luke Brooks. The two men's hands clasped tightly together. On the other side, Grace and Ethan were eating lunch. Ethan, How did Luke get so? So, how do I describe it? Main character syndrome. Ethan laughed. What's that? Main character syndrome. It's like being delusional. These types of people are self-centered, ignore objective facts, and act incredibly weird, Ethan explained with a smile. All right, that Luke guy definitely has main character syndrome, Grace affirmed. Ignore him. He's probably just hot-headed. Since he's back, Uncle Lawrence and Andy must have returned to States too. We should go visit them another day. Their family took good care of us when we were kids, and Uncle Lawrence is generous and easy to talk to. Ethan smiled. Luke's father, Lawrence Brooks, used to be the manager of the Tri-State Steel Mill. In Ethan's memory, he was a kind man. Before he resigned to go do business in Southeast Asia, he promoted George Miller from workshop director to deputy manager. Frank Ford also indirectly benefited, becoming a skilled technician, which doubled his wages. As the saying goes, when you drink water, don't forget who dug the well. Ethan knew in his heart who had been good to them. People should always have a grateful heart. Only by knowing gratitude can one understand the pros and cons of relationships. In other words, this was a form of networking currency. For example, in his past life, before he made his fortune in software, Ethan encountered difficulties. He didn't know how to implement certain program functions, so he had to bite the bullet and ask seniors who had already graduated and were working. Very few responded. But there was one senior named Chris who specifically took time off to come back to school and help him solve the technical problem. That was a favor. Ethan was a grateful person. He treated Chris to dinner every now and then, asking technical questions along the way. After going back and forth, the two became close. Later, when Ethan's software was ready for the market, he needed venture capital. Getting investment was hard. Who wanted to invest in a student with no background? In the end, it was Chris who helped introduce him to a VC firm, which allowed him to start his rise. If a person doesn't understand gratitude, asking for help, giving a small gift in return, clearing the debt, and then cutting contact, they won't encounter subsequent opportunities. So, it makes sense that famous businessmen always talk about gratitude. Behind that word lies a logical motive called seeking networking benefits. Grace nodded and replied, True. Let's go home first. After we get home, I'll have my dad invite Uncle Lawrence over. Haha, Gracie is all grown up. Ethan patted her head. Grace rolled her eyes at him. I've always been an adult. Do you still think I'm a kid? Ethan glanced at her chest and said seriously, Really? I don't believe it. Unless you prove it to me. Grace felt his gaze and blushed shyly. If you jerk, just eat your food. While they were talking, Ethan's cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw it was an unfamiliar number, but he answered it anyway. Hello, who is this? Hello, Mr. Ford. This is Calvin Trent. Calvin Trent. Ethan thought for a moment and could roughly guess the reason for Calvin's call. Sterling Tech was finished. Smart birds choose good trees to nest in. It was understandable. Ethan had interacted with Calvin a few times and had a good impression of him. He was steady, detail-oriented, and had strong social skills. Someone like that was suitable to be a professional manager. Oh, it's Mr. Trent. Hello, hello. Ethan laughed warmly. A bitter laugh came from the other end of the line. Mr. Ford, you're joking. I'm not a Mr. Trent anymore. I've already resigned from Sterling. Hey, everyone has low points. No need to be discouraged. Who knows? Maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Ethan comforted him. I hope so. By the way, Mr. Ford, are you free tonight? It's been a while since I had a drink with you. Haha. Calvin laughed. Tonight is fine. Just send me a text once you decide on the place. Ethan smiled. Initiating a dinner invitation meant he needed something. But based on Ethan's understanding of him, Calvin probably hadn't even decided where to go yet. The meal was just to increase their mutual understanding. Finding a job wasn't as simple as imagined. It wasn't just about looking at the company's prospects, but mainly looking at the company's soul, the boss's personality. As the saying goes, a cowardly commander leads a cowardly army. The leader determines the success or failure of an enterprise. Ethan knew this clearly and didn't mind at all. Eating a meal was a perfect chance to deepen his understanding of Calvin. This was a two-way selection opportunity. After chatting for a while, they hung up. Grace pouted and said, Ethan, are you going out to work again tonight? Hey, yeah, don't worry. I'll come back as soon as possible tonight. Ethan patted her head and smiled. All right, if you come back early, bring me some sweet soup. I haven't had it in a long time. Grace acted spoiled. Sure, no problem. Ethan agreed. Meanwhile, in the afternoon, Calvin Trent arrived at Sterling Tech. Inside the company, only a few people remained, and they were packing their desk items. It seemed the employees were almost all gone. Calvin sighed and shook his head. If Mr. Pearson had listened to his advice back then, not to go against Ethan Ford and not to participate in that whole assembled PC project. Sterling Tech wouldn't have fallen to the point of bankruptcy. It really is hard to save a ghost hell-bent on dying with good advice. From the first time he met Ethan, he knew that young man wasn't easy to deal with. But Pearson and Eugene Grant just wouldn't believe it. Now it was all over. He came back this time to pack his things and leave. The resignation letter had already been submitted, and it wasn't up to Pearson to decide how to handle it anymore. The company faced huge compensation claims. Bankruptcy was set in stone. Just as he walked to the entrance, he suddenly heard arguing coming from Pearson's office. Then the door was thrown open. Eugene Grant walked out furiously, turning back to shout, "Pearson, don't look for me in the future. This matter has nothing to do with me anymore. You are the corporate legal representative. I'm just an employee. Don't put all the fucking blame on my head." At this moment, Pearson chased out of the office. His face was haggard, his eyes bloodshot. He roared angrily at Eugene Grant. "Eugene, you're a fucking executive and a minority shareholder too. You want to just wash your hands and leave? Fuck, you have to take some responsibility for this. I've given you plenty over the years. Can't you bear to take some money out?" Eugene cursed. "Fuck, I earned that. What do you mean you gave me? Anyway, this has nothing to do with me anymore. This company has nothing to do with me. Look out for yourself." With that, Eugene took his things and left without looking back. Pearson stamped his foot in anger, cursing, "Heartless bastard. Fuck." After cursing, he turned his head and happened to see Calvin standing not far away. He froze. Every time he saw Calvin, he was reminded of his own stubborn stupidity. "Calvin, you're here." Pearson softened his tone and asked with a dry laugh. "Yeah, I came back to get some things," Calvin replied calmly, not even addressing him as Mr. Pearson anymore. Sterling Tech had such good profit prospects. There was originally hope to make big money, but now everything was gone. Calvin felt Pearson wasn't worthy of his respect. Pearson was primarily responsible for leading Sterling to its demise. "Is that so?" Pearson's face looked very ugly. He didn't know what to say to Calvin. His arrogant pride made it impossible for him to bow his head in front of Calvin and admit his mistake. "Go on. Everyone go." After speaking, Pearson took out a cigarette, lit it himself, and walked back into his office smoking. Calvin sighed, didn't respond, and entered his own office to pack his personal belongings. Half an hour later, he carried a small box downstairs to the bottom of the tech tower. Suddenly, he saw a crowd gathering downstairs, all looking up at the top of the building. "Oh my God, look, someone's going to jump. Who is that? What happened to make them so desperate? It's too high, I can't see clearly. Holy crap, what kind of blow makes someone want to jump off a building?" The noise of the passers-by was like a vegetable market. Calvin walked to the edge of the crowd, looked up, and instantly recognized who was up there. It was Mr. Pearson. Calvin's eyes widened, staring in shock at Pearson on the building. He watched as Pearson threw a cigarette down, then stepped out onto the ledge and leaped. His body plummeted violently through the air. Bang! Pearson's body smashed heavily onto the concrete. Blood burst and splattered. Screams erupted from the scene. Calvin stared blankly at Pearson's corpse on the ground, the box in his hand dropping to the floor. At 7 p.m., the Cloud Bistro. Ethan took a taxi to the entrance of the restaurant. Just as he paid and got out, he saw Calvin welcoming him with a smile. "Ah, Mr. Ford, long time no see." Calvin laughed loudly. Ethan shook his hand and smiled. "Yeah, it has been a while. Don't stand out here, let's go eat. I am starving." "All right, I've already asked the waiter to serve tea. Just waiting for you to order," Calvin said politely. Ethan gave him a surprised look. Calvin really was socially adept. "Haha, you really are something. I eat anything. You just order whatever." Chatting as they walked, they went upstairs to a private room. There were just the two of them in the room. After sitting down, Calvin took out a pack of Camel cigarettes and offered one to Ethan. "Mr. Ford, about this afternoon. You heard about what happened at Tech City, right?" Calvin asked in a low voice. Ethan took the cigarette, lit it himself, nodded, and said, "Such a big event, the whole tech tower is buzzing about it." "I know." Calvin sighed lightly and said, "When Pearson jumped, I was right there. I watched it happen. When I went to get my things this afternoon, I felt his mental state wasn't right. I didn't expect. A few days ago, I heard his wife divorced him and took the kid back to her parents' house. Eugene Grant turned on him too and quit." Ethan said calmly, "That was his own choice. Winner takes all. It's just that cruel." Calvin had long guessed that the auction incident was likely related to Ethan, so he naturally understood the meaning behind his words. "Yes, Mr. Ford is right. Since ancient times, it's been winner takes all. The victor possesses everything." Ethan flicked his ash and smiled. "If I had let Pearson destroy me, I wouldn't have ended up much better." At most, my mental fortitude is a bit stronger than his. Calvin narrowed his eyes at Ethan and laughed. Mr. Ford, you really know how to joke. Who could destroy you? Ethan couldn't help but smile. You're right. Calvin paused. He didn't expect Ethan to be so confident. This confidence came from a powerful inner strength. At this moment, he had made his choice in his heart. He personally poured a cup of tea for Ethan and said respectfully, Mr. Ford, with this cup of tea, I toast to you. To be honest, now that Sterling has fallen, I have nowhere to go. I sincerely hope Mr. Ford can take me in. Ethan took his tea, looked at him with appreciation, and smiled. With talent like yours, Calvin, how could I turn you away? Welcome to Westford. Calvin said gratefully, Thank you, Mr. Ford. He didn't expect Ethan to be so crisp and decisive, acting with such lightning speed. Following a boss like this had a much brighter future. Mr. Ford, I toast to you. Calvin raised his teacup. They clinked cups and smiled at each other. Then the food and wine were served, and the two drank and chatted. Now that business was settled, the conversation at the table roamed far and wide. During the meal, Calvin actively poured wine for Ethan, handed him cigarettes, and took care of everything perfectly. After 3 rounds of drinks, Ethan casually mentioned, Calvin, what do you think about the prospects of the computer parts industry? Calvin, being a talent who had returned from overseas and seen the development of the internet abroad, replied confidently, I think there's a lot to be done. In the U.S. corporate sector, computer penetration is high, but the home market is still exploding. The parts market is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. I believe that as the internet boom continues and computers become essential for every household, there's a potential for trillions. With the continuous improvement of technology, the industry replacement rate is high. Even in the mature stage of the industry, it can have very good profitability. Ethan smiled and asked, Do you think selling computer parts is the most profitable thing? Calvin thought for a moment and replied, According to the industry chain situation, I think the manufacturers should be the most profitable. They master the core technology and control commodity pricing. But that requires big capital to enter big fields. It's hard to break in. So ruling that out, buying and selling parts is still where the money is. Ethan immediately laughed. Haha, why should we rule out? Calvin was stunned. Did Ethan want to become a manufacturer? Ethan continued, the entire computer field, or rather the electronics industry field. The chain above, it is the semiconductor industry chain. This includes chip design, R&D, and sales. In the future, the semiconductor industry will be the most critical. This isn't just about making money. It's about development. If we just think about selling parts to make money, our vision is too small. My ambition doesn't stop here. I hope to use the initial capital accumulation to enter the semiconductor field, become a manufacturer, and even become a chip manufacturer in a monopoly industry. Calvin's face flushed red, and he nodded repeatedly. Yes, Mr. Ford is right. He blushed because he felt this young boss had even more ambition than he did. It was truly humbling. Ethan waved his hand and said seriously, Technology is the future. Whoever masters technology masters the future. Of course, that is our goal. At this stage, besides buying parts to accumulate initial capital, we are focusing more on the internet application ecosystem. Currently, our 361 software is in the final wrap-up stage. The official version is about to be launched on the market. That will be our first step into the internet ecosystem. Through this step, we can enter e-commerce, social networking. Once we have users, we have everything. Calvin was stunned. Mr. Ford, Westford isn't just doing computer part sales business. Ethan laughed heartily. How can we only do one business? People need to walk on 2 legs. Although the computer parts business is currently the most profitable, very soon, its revenue share will be at the bottom. Surpassing it will be 361 software and the internet cafe chain. Calvin's eyes widened. How do these 3 businesses feel completely unrelated? But Westford was doing exactly that. And if computer part sales revenue was going to be at the bottom, how high would the revenue of the other 2 businesses have to be? He really didn't dare to imagine. Seeing his bewildered expression, Ethan laughed. Talking about it now, you might not have much of a concept. Wait until Saturday when you report to the company, and you'll understand. Calvin repeatedly raised his glass. Yes, Mr. Ford. No matter what position I'm in, I will familiarize myself with the business as soon as possible. He wouldn't actively seek a specific position. He would listen entirely to Ethan's arrangement. Ethan looked at him with appreciation and said, As for your specific position arrangement, wait until you get to the company on Saturday, and you'll understand. Sometimes, Things couldn't be rushed, especially personnel appointments in the workplace. This had to be done in a formal setting. First, to show respect and make him feel valued. Second, this would also have a positive demonstrative effect on other employees. These were management tactics a boss must understand. Saturday morning, West Ford Company. Before the company opened, Calvin arrived early and waited at the door. Today he wore a suit and tie, his hairstyle with mousse, looking very spirited. It was his day to report to his new employer, so naturally, he wanted to show his best side. "Hey, Calvin, here so early?" Wayne Tank Turner's voice rang out behind him. "Ah, Mr. Turner, good morning." Calvin greeted politely. He understood the relationship between Ethan and Tank very well, so naturally, he had to be respectful. Tank waved his hand carelessly. "You're earlier than me. It's only 8:30. 9 o'clock is the official start time. We rest on Monday and Tuesday and work Saturday and Sunday. There are shifts on rest days too." Oh, I see. Understood. Thanks, Calvin realized. It seemed reasonable, and they actually had a 2-day break. This treatment was better than Sterling. Sterling only had 1 day off. Currently, let alone in Chicago, even across the whole country, those who could firmly enforce a 2-day weekend were probably only government agencies and state-owned units. Private enterprises? Forget about it. At most, 1 day off or 2 days off a month. In the words of those bosses, if you don't do it, plenty of people are fighting to do it. The fact that West Ford had a 2-day weekend made him particularly emotional. Seeing his slightly surprised look, Tank couldn't help but feel a bit proud. The system brother Ethan designed was awesome, of course. "Come on in. Sit for a while. The other employees will be here soon." Tank opened the door and invited him in. Calvin walked into the company. It was open and spacious inside. The cubicles in the work area were orderly, the items on the desks were neatly arranged, and the floor was clean and tidy. These conditions were much better than Sterling's. My God, such a large office area? Must be 700 or 800 square meters, right? Calvin asked in amazement. Tank rolled his eyes at him and laughed. "More than that. Half this floor belongs to our company. Last time it was just a corner. Last month we rented half the floor. The Internet Cafe project and the 361 project are preparing to launch, so we hired a lot of people." Hearing this, Calvin was shocked. "A what? Half the floor? That big?" Calvin never expected West Ford to be so large. Just the office area alone was twice the size of Sterling Tech. And according to Tank's introduction, West Ford's office staff had now reached 90 people. This didn't include the staff stationed at the computer stores or the frontline personnel, like cyber cafe admins, currently being recruited. Among the office staff, the largest group was the 361 software technical team, reaching 45 people. They were all carefully selected high-degree professionals, mostly outstanding graduates from the best computer science programs in the city, like the tech universities in the region. As Calvin listened to Tank's introduction, the shock in his heart came in wave after wave, hard to calm down. On the surface, West Ford was a sales company focused on computer parts and repair services. But looking at the staff configuration, it resembled an internet technology application company instead. Therefore, he couldn't help but have a stronger curiosity about this 361 software project. What kind of software was it that could make West Ford invest so much in labor costs? As time passed, employees from various departments arrived one after another. Not a single person was late, and every employee's spirit was very full. Calvin and Tank rested in the smoking area of the private office. Suddenly the door opened, and Ethan walked in. "Brother Ethan, good morning, Mr. Ford." The two immediately stood up to greet him. Ethan waved his hand and smiled. "Sit down. No need to be so polite." Calvin immediately took out a cigarette and offered one to Ethan, who accepted it naturally. "Calvin, Tank, I've already asked Brittany from the admin department to notify all departments of a temporary meeting. Rest a bit, then we'll go to the meeting." Ethan sat down, lit the cigarette, and smiled. "All right, but, Brother Ethan, can I make a suggestion?" Tank scratched his head in embarrassment and asked in a low voice. "Just say it. What's up?" Ethan waved his hand. "Can we transfer Britt Stone back to the electronics sales department? She did pretty well over there. Being in the admin department is a bit of a waste of her talent." Tank grinned. "Haha. Tank, no ulterior motives in this opinion?" Ethan teased. "Cough, absolutely not. I'm focused on my career now." "No such thoughts," Tank quickly explained. Ever since the incident with Sally, Tank had been wary of girls. He kept a certain distance when interacting with any girl. Having been hurt deeply, his fantasies about love were temporarily shattered. "All right, I know. The admin department is short-handed right now, so I transferred Britt over temporarily. She's detail-oriented and serious, and she manages admin well. But once we hire the right person, I'll move her back. Don't worry, I know what kind of person fits what position. Ethan smiled. Listening on the side, Calvin froze for a moment, instantly realizing these words were for Tank, but also for him. This new boss. His depth was unknown compared to Sterling's Pearson. Calvin's respect for Ethan grew even more. Hearing Ethan's words, Tank said happily, "Haha, that's good. I knew brother Ethan would put people to good use." Ethan rolled his eyes at him and teased, "Tank, when did you become so good at kissing ass?" "Brother Ethan, I learned it all from you. You're my master," Tank said shamelessly. "Not bad, you've improved." Huh? Ethan didn't consider it shameful. Instead, he was very happy. This was Tank's progress. In this society, flattery is also a skill. Doing it well shows at least some social ability. The three chatted for a while. Seeing it was about time, they went to the conference room together. The heads of each department were already waiting in the conference room. West Ford adopted flat management, trying not to design too many levels. Too many levels would make the company structure bloated. Ethan sat at the head of the table and glanced around. All departments were present. In West Ford, there were 3 main project managers and 5 departments. The 3 project managers were Tank, responsible for the West Ford Electronics Project Computer Parts Repair Store Management, Henry Payne, responsible for the Chain Internet Cafe Project, and the third project was 361 PC Safety Manager, temporarily managed by Ethan himself because the underlying architecture of this software was developed by him independently. The 5 departments were Finance, Administration, Electronic Sales, Technology, and Legal. Among these, the Electronic Sales Department was directly managed by Tank, reporting directly to Ethan. The other departments had their own managers. The department with the most employees was the Technology Department, the 361 software technical staff. The position of department manager was still vacant. The technical supervisor was Liu Zhang. This person had the highest technical level, was good at researching technology, and had strong comprehension of new tech. He was very malleable and would definitely become an outstanding professional, but he lacked management skills. Because he loved researching technology too much, his progress in managing and leading a team was poor. However, he was currently the best candidate for technical supervisor. The finance department manager was a professional teacher poached from the accounting major at the University of Technology named Fiona Hart. She was 35, married with 2 kids, had a steady personality, and strong professional qualities. This talent was poached with the help of Professor Hall. The admin department manager was temporarily served by Britt Stone. Admin work was complicated, but fortunately, Britt was detail-oriented and completed the work quite well. Electronic sales was concurrently managed by Tank. This department mainly consisted of frontline store staff and repair/after-sales personnel, but a new online customer service team was added, also under this department, mainly to deal with the upcoming launch of the e-commerce platform. The legal department only had 2 people. The manager was named Ross Lawton, formerly a law professor recruited from the talent market. His research direction was finance and commercial law. He was humorous but meticulous in his work, good at parsing various legal clauses. West Ford's legal documents and compliance management were all built by him. Although West Ford was still short on talent and small in scale, it had all the vital organs, more formal than average enterprises. With the corporate management regulations and departmental work regulations personally written by Ethan, the whole company operated well. Today's meeting is mainly to discuss the launch of 361 PC Manager and set the development direction. But before the meeting starts, I will announce a personnel appointment. Let me introduce a new member of our team, Calvin Trent, a returned overseas professional with strong capabilities in electronic product channel management. Let's give him a round of applause, Ethan said, clapping first. The people in the conference room applauded one after another. Calvin immediately stood up and said humbly, "I am Calvin Trent. Friends usually call me Cal. Please take care of me in the future." Tank laughed happily. "Haha, brother Ethan, then Cal should be coming to my electronic sales department, right?" Another general added to my department. Ethan nodded and said, "That's right. I discussed it with Cal before, so today I officially appoint Calvin Trent as the channel manager of the electronic sales department. He'll be mainly responsible for expanding supply channels, maintenance work, and setting up online sales channels. Diversification and stability of supply channels are the important cornerstones of West Ford Electronics development. The responsibility is heavy." Calvin was very moved. He also understood how important the duties of this position were. What kind of parts West Ford could sell, how much inventory costs could be reduced, and whether the supply of parts commodities could be stable depended entirely on him. He felt the trust coming from Ethan, firm trust. Yes, Mr. Ford. Rest assured, I will put in 200% effort to do the job well and live up to your trust. Calvin bowed to Ethan and said solemnly. Warm applause instantly rang out in the conference room. Ethan smiled. I believe in you, and I believe in your ability. If you employ someone, don't suspect them. If you suspect them, don't employ them. He had a scale in his heart for what kind of person could play what role. Calvin was steady, and his channel and business relationships were excellent. He was the only one for this job. It was equivalent to setting up a supply safety net for Westford. With this net, this cornerstone, there would be no constraints when offline and online sales expanded later, and they could sell more goods. Ethan waved his hand to let him sit down and said, Now, let's officially start the meeting. Leo, report the latest situation of 361 PC Safety Manager. Display it with the projector so colleagues from other departments know the score. Okay, Mr. Ford. Leo Zhang stood up, connected his laptop to the projector, and projected the introduction content of 361 PC Safety Manager. After more than 2 months of upgrades and expansion, 361 Safety Manager has completed internal testing and some online push upgrade trials. According to user data feedback verification, the software has reached the launch promotion standards set by Mr. Ford. Please look, everyone. These are our software functions. The software uses heuristic virus scanning. This is also the first heuristic antivirus software in our country. When facing different program viruses or new program virus intrusions, it can actively scan and kill viruses based on abnormal conditions inside the computer, achieving both active and passive protection, ensuring the safety of personal and enterprise computers. This is the core function of our software, a major breakthrough in solving user computer security needs. And this software isn't just an antivirus software. It's also a PC manager software. It can monitor memory junk generation in real time and optimize background running programs with one click, greatly improving the user's computer operation experience. Based on these 2 core functions, we will continue to update and enrich other functions of 361 PC Safety Manager in the future, such as desktop functions, file archiving functions, system error repair, and other functions. Leo Zhang then explained the operating logic of the software in depth. Everyone in the conference room was excited after hearing it. This software is amazing. It really touches on user pain points. Ross Lawton from the legal department said excitedly. He was sensitive to security and would actively install antivirus software on his personal computer, but foreign paid software was particularly expensive. Mr. Ford, this really is impressive. Calvin sighed with emotion. After hearing this, he finally understood why Westford attached such importance to this software. Once promoted and launched, it would definitely explode across the entire network and become the domestic antivirus software with a no.1 market share. Ethan smiled and added, This software will adopt a 2-tier membership charging strategy according to my previous deployment arrangements. For ordinary personal users, we can provide a free version with limited functions, and it will be permanently free. The free version will benefit millions of personal users, bringing them computer security and management. The paid membership version will unlock the advanced virus database, possessing stronger computer protection capabilities and excellent member service functions. This version faces mid to high-end personal users and a massive number of enterprise users with security needs. The paid membership version will also become Westford's largest source of revenue. This software will also bring massive, voluminous traffic users to the company. In the battle for internet user high ground, we are one step ahead. The internet era is coming. Possess the users, and you possess the future. The goal of our software is to become the #1 antivirus software in the country. Ethan's remarks made everyone on the scene even more excited, applauding enthusiastically. Brother Ethan, when do we officially launch? Tank asked impatiently. Official launch starts next Wednesday. Next is the formal work deployment. Take notes, everyone. If there are areas to supplement, actively make suggestions. Ethan smiled. First, after the software is launched and promoted, it will be bound to our Westford e-commerce platform for joint promotion. The electronic sales department needs to actively follow up on supply reserves and goods listing. The technical department must also be ready to deal with the influx of large traffic on the download server. Server downtime is not allowed. Prepare backup servers in time for emergencies. In this meeting, Ethan made detailed deployments for before and after the software launch, coupled with interdepartmental collaboration, to ensure the stability of the launch promotion and a series of operations. The meeting lasted from morning until noon, forming specific meeting documents and work arrangements. The entire West Ford company was full of hope for the future and full of vitality. Ethan finished some operational documents in the company, all advanced experiences summarized from before. These documents would be handed over to their respective departments for specific implementation later. After finishing work, Ethan leaned back in his boss chair, smoking a cigarette, looking at the clear sky outside the window, feeling particularly happy. At this moment, Grace called. "Hello, Ethan. My mom called asking if we're going back. I miss my mom too. I want to go back for a visit. Are you going back?" "Yeah, I have time this weekend too. School has been in session for so long, it's time to go back and visit. I'll drive to school to pick you up later." Ethan responded with a smile. "Hee, okay. I'll wait for you at the school gate." Grace laughed sweetly. Hanging up the phone, Ethan left the company and drove back to the school. Noon, at the gate of Illinois Tech. Grace was wearing a light blue sailor uniform. The autumn breeze fluttered her skirt. Her tall, graceful figure, coupled with those fair, long legs, was extremely eye-catching. Male students on the road couldn't help but look sideways. Every time a young couple passed the school gate, the guys would invariably look at Grace, leading to warfare between couples and the guy's waist flesh suffering from pinches. At this time, in the shadows of the school gate, Luke Brooks and Ryan Yates were secretly staring, both with lecherous expressions. "Grace Miller is really so beautiful." Ryan sighed with a love-struck look. "Yeah, worthy of the woman I set my eyes on." Luke also had a love-struck look. Then he reacted, grabbed Ryan by the neck with both hands, and shouted, "Holy crap, that's my woman. You're not allowed to think about her." Ryan coughed dryly and quickly shouted, "Luke, let go. She's not with either of us right now. You forgot, we are a gang. The team. We are the Avengers. We have a common enemy." Luke thought about it and said, "That's true. We are the Avengers." Immediately, he let go of Ryan's neck. "Grace is alone right now. It's our chance." Luke whispered, "Huh, you want to use force?" "No way, besides. We can't beat him," Ryan said distressfully. Luke knocked on his forehead and said, "Are you stupid? She must be waiting for a bus or a taxi right now. Wait a sec, I'll drive my Suzuki GS1 motorcycle over. Maybe she'll sit on my back seat. Then I'll let her witness my magical riding skills, capture her heart in one fell swoop, and make her fall completely in love with me. As long as she falls in love with me, I'll definitely propose to her very quickly, then get married and have kids. Our kids. If it's a boy, he'll be named Luke Jr. If it's a girl, she'll be Grace Jr. Then we can send the kids to the institutional kindergarten. The teacher resources there are good, and we can also—" "Ryan, this guy, is his brain fried? Stop fantasizing. She'll be gone in a minute." Ryan rolled his eyes at him. Luke wiped his drool and grinned. "You watch here. I'll go get the motorcycle." Saying that, Luke ran off. Soon, he rode a Suzuki GS1 motorcycle out of the campus toward Grace. Ryan looked envious. Riding a motorcycle in college? This guy's family must be well off. You have to know that students nowadays basically have no money. They either take the shuttle bus or ride vintage bicycles. The poorer ones rely on bus now. 11 foot, their 2 legs. Anyone who could ride a motorcycle was rich. Luke rode the motorcycle up to Grace. Gissa, are you alone? Where do you want to go? I can give you a ride." Luke took off his helmet, flipped his middle-parted bangs, and struck a pose he thought was cool. "I'm going home, but I don't need a ride. I'm waiting for Ethan." Grace shook her head and refused firmly. "Hey, don't wait. It's a hot day. Do you really want to squeeze onto a bus with him? Or ride a bike?" "Grace, sit on my motorcycle. Try it. It's really comfortable. Driving a motorcycle gets you home fast. No need to squeeze on a bus." Luke didn't give up and continued to persuade her. Grace narrowed her eyes, raised her hand, and cracked her knuckles, making a terrifying creaking sound. "Luke Brooks, you'd better disappear from my sight within 3 seconds. Luke Gradusov de Gradusov." "Cough, Grace, don't be impulsive." 3. "Wait a minute, Grace, too." "Okay, I'm rolling." Just as he was speaking, an Audi A6 suddenly drove up from the road and stopped beside them. Luke looked enviously. An Audi A6? A luxury car? Which rich second-generation kid from school was this? No, absolutely cannot let a rich kid get close to Grace. Luke got off his bike, walked over, and knocked on the window. "Hey, buddy, drive a bit further away. You're blocking my path." The window slowly rolled down. The next moment, Luke was dumbfounded. Holy crap. Ethan Ford. The person in the car was Ethan. This is your car?" Luke asked in shock. "Of course it's mine. If it's not mine, is it yours?" Ethan laughed. "Gracie, get in. Let's go home." Grace smiled sweetly, skipped over, opened the passenger door, and sat inside. "Let's go, Ethan." Departure. The car started and shot out, kicking up a cloud of dust that covered Luke's face. Cough, cough, cough. Luke's face was dark. He coughed repeatedly and shouted angrily, "Damn it, Ethan Ford. Even if you drive a luxury car, you can't stop my burning heart for Grace Miller." If you're going back, then I'm going back too." Saying that, Luke got on his motorcycle and sped away. The Mill residential compound, the neighborhood. In Ethan's home, George Miller and Frank Ford were drinking tea and chatting in the living room. Lily Miller and Mary Ford were picking vegetables in the kitchen. "When are Grace and Ethan coming back?" Mary turned her head to check the time. It was already 12:30 p.m. "Should be soon. I just called Grace, and she said she and Ethan are already on their way." Lily responded with a smile. "That's about right then. I'll start cooking. The kids can eat hot food when they get back." Mary nodded. "All right, you go ahead. I'll finish picking these myself," Lily replied. Then she asked casually, "Mary, tell me, those two kids grew up together, almost together every day. How come they haven't sparked?" "I think Ethan is such a good kid. Smart in his studies, state valedictorian, knows how to make money, and has a good personality. I don't know what Grace is thinking. If those two got together, we'd be in-laws." Haha. Mary went to prepare the dishes. Hearing this, she laughed. "Hey, I like that too, but feelings depend on fate. Only when fate arrives does the water flow to form a canal. The kids are grown up. Let them handle those things themselves." Lily's eyes rolled, and an idea formed in her mind. Suddenly she said, "Hey Mary, how about we try to matchmake them?" Mary put down the bowl in her hand and asked in surprise, "How do we matchmake?" Lily leaned in closer and whispered, "Wait a bit. After the two of them come back, let's probe them separately. You go ask Ethan, and I'll ask Grace. First, let's sound out their intentions. If there's really an intention, then we let them show their intentions so that later it becomes interesting." "Mary, so many intentions. What do you mean?" Lily continued. "Hey, I mean guiding them a bit. Just see if they have any interest in each other. If there's real interest, then let them express interest to each other. You know." Mary. She was confused. It took her a while to sort out Lily's meaning. "All right, then after we eat, we'll ask their intentions." Downstairs, Ethan parked the car and took large and small bags from the trunk. There were various styles of clothes, accessories, watches, and many nutritional supplements. All gifts Ethan bought for the elders of both families on the way. "Ethan, do we really have to confess to my parents? What if they don't agree?" Grace worried. "Then what do you say we do?" Ethan teased. Grace thought for a moment and said, "If they don't agree, we'll just cook the raw rice until it's done. Make them grandparents ahead of schedule." Ethan froze upon hearing this, exclaiming, "My God, Gracie, you've got guts. But I like this method. Hey, hith." Grace blushed and spat. "That's for you too. I don't know what kind of magic you use to make me like you." Ethan flipped his bangs and said narcissistically, "That's obviously because I'm handsome, shameless. You're just a cricket." Grace covered her mouth and laughed. Talking, the two went upstairs together and returned home. "Mom, Dad, we're back," Ethan shouted after entering the door. Mary came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands, smiling. "Ethan, Grace, you're back." At this moment, she saw the pile of bags in Ethan's hands and asked suspiciously, "Son, what is all this stuff?" "Haha, these are gifts Grace and I specifically bought for you guys. There's everything, tea, necklaces, skincare products, clothes, whatever. Anyway, a whole pile." Ethan shrugged and replied. Mary rolled her eyes and said, "You should just buy for Grace's parents. Your dad and I have everything." Mary was used to being frugal. She couldn't bear to buy clothes or jewelry for herself, feeling that being warm and full was enough, without too many material needs. Last time Ethan gave her over $20,000. The card had a total of over $40,000, and she hadn't touched a cent. She was thinking of saving it for Ethan to get a wife later. "Hey, Mom, this is my sentiment. Let me show some filial piety, okay?" Ethan laughed. "Yes, Auntie, it's all Ethan's sentiment." Grace responded obediently. Mary was beaming. She waved her hand and said, "All right, you guys hurry up and wash your hands. Get ready to eat." "Hee hee. Okay." Grace responded and ran lightly to the bathroom to wash her hands. Ethan put away the gifts, went to the living room to greet George, and handed him a cigarette. George took the cigarette and asked with a smile, "Ethan, how is it going at college?" "It's okay. Pretty relaxed. The professional courses aren't too hard," Ethan replied. Hey, I'm not worried about your studies. It's just concerned about your life aspects. Is there any female classmate you set your eyes on?" George grinned, a look of gossip on his face. Ethan looked mysterious and laughed. Of course there is." Lily, who was pouring water on the sofa, immediately pricked up her ears. She thought to herself, oh no, has someone else beaten Grace to the punch with Ethan? This was terrible news. Looking like a spectator eating popcorn, George quickly asked, who? Which female classmate? Is she pretty? Where's she from? George fired off questions like pouring beans from a bamboo tube. Sitting on the sofa drinking tea, Frank Ford couldn't help but stare curiously at Ethan. It was the first time he'd heard Ethan say he had his eye on a girl, and he was curious who that girl was. Stared at by 3 elders. Ethan suddenly felt uncomfortable all over, just as he was about to bite the bullet and reveal everything. Ethan, come here for a sec. Grace suddenly shouted from the bathroom door, interrupting what Ethan was about to say. Ethan had to get up and go over. Arriving at the bathroom door, he whispered, what's wrong, Gracie? Grace looked solemn. I just stole a glance at my mom's face. Her expression isn't very good. I'm afraid if you say it and my parents don't agree, won't it be awkward on the spot? Let's wait. If it's going to be said, I should be the one to say it. That way your pressure will be less. Maybe. My parents won't oppose it as much. Regarding the reveal, the effect might really differ depending on who did it. Ethan thought for a moment and felt Grace made sense. If Grace said it herself, the success rate might be much higher. You have a point. All right, you find a chance later. It wasn't that Ethan was cowardly. He wasn't afraid to reveal it at all. But if it turned out to be the worst outcome, Grace caught in the middle would be very hurt. If she said it, at least it might make Uncle George and Aunt Lily feel a bit better. Grace made an okay gesture. The food was served, and the two ate lively together, chatting about interesting things at school. During the meal, Grace ran to get the gifts to show the elders. Lily took the opportunity to walk over and find a chance to be alone with Grace. Hey, Grace, don't you think Ethan is really thoughtful? Buying us so many gifts. Lily began to probe from the side. Yeah, Ethan did good this time. Grace rummaged through the gifts without looking back. Seeing the time was ripe, Lily continued. Sigh. Young men as good as Ethan are too rare. I wonder how many people are eyeing him at school. He must be very popular, right? He is indeed quite popular. After all, he's the state valedictorian. Why, Mom? Why ask this all of a sudden? Grace looked up and asked in confusion. Nothing. Just asking casually. I just feel since Ethan is so popular, surely some female classmates have their eyes on him. Grace, what do you think of Ethan? Lily formally began to probe Grace's intentions. Grace blushed and pouted. Ethan is indeed pretty good. Outstanding in all aspects. Lily's eyes lit up. Bingo. There's hope. She could tell Grace seemed to have a bit of interest in Ethan. But remembering she just heard Ethan also had his eye on a female classmate at school, her face suddenly showed a few shades of worry. Yeah, such a good kid and so popular. There must be many girls chasing him. Lily instigated from the side. Grace gave a dry laugh, secretly guessing her mother's meaning. But then Lily took the gift and patted Grace's shoulder meaningfully. This made Grace even more confused, unable to figure out if her mother thought Ethan was good or bad. When Ethan went to pour tea, Mary leaned in and asked directly, Son, what do you think of Grace? You grew up together. You must understand her, right? Ethan froze. She's great. Mom, why do you ask this all of a sudden? Mary immediately put on a look of understanding. All right, I get it. Interesting. Really interesting. Mary muttered and turned back. Ethan, what's interesting? What does Mom mean? Could it be she knows about me and Grace? Ethan was confused, but he remained calm on the surface. He poured tea and brought it over, giving a cup each to George and Frank. Thump, thump, thump. These are the gifts Ethan and I picked out specifically for you guys. Grace put the gifts on the table and handed 2 to Mary. Annie, this is the face cream I picked especially for you. It's the latest Max Factor, and this is a luck charm. Wishing you smooth sailing and good health. Mary grinned from ear to ear, praising, oh, Grace is so thoughtful. Hee hee. And here are clothes for Uncle Frank. Dad, this is what Ethan picked for you. A belt and clothes. Mom, this is also what Ethan bought for you. Grace took out the gifts one by one and distributed them to the elders. The 4 elders at the table were very happy, praising the 2 repeatedly. Although the gifts weren't expensive, they were the sentiments of the younger generation. It's the thought that counts. Ha, Grace and Ethan, you've grown up. George was very happy and praised them. Lily nodded and smiled with relief. Yes, all grown up. Both very promising. As parents, they didn't ask for their children to be immensely wealthy, only that they be healthy, happy, and know how to respect their elders. That was enough to make them happy. Grace saw the atmosphere was good and immediately gave Ethan a look. Ethan instantly understood, smiled slightly, and nodded. Grace glanced at her parents, took a deep breath, and said solemnly, Dad, Mom, I have something very important. I want to tell you. I know if I hide this from you, I probably can't hide it for long. So, I decided to say it myself. I hope you can understand and accept it. Huh? What is it? Lily looked confused. George was also stunned and asked, What is it? Grace, you didn't get into trouble outside, did you? Grace's face turned completely red. She pouted and said, I didn't get into trouble. This matter actually is... Dad-Ma, I'm dating Ethan. As soon as Grace said this, the scene instantly fell into silence. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone present, except for Ethan, was shocked dumb. Clatter. Lily looked bewildered, and the chopsticks in her hand fell down. Grace secretly checked her parents' expressions and found that they didn't look as stern as she imagined, but rather shocked and stunned. Her heart was in her throat. Mom and Dad won't disagree, right? What if they disagree? Oh my, so worried. Dad, Mom. Grace called out softly. Since she had already put it out there, dead or alive, she needed a verdict. Lily opened her mouth, a look of surprise appearing on her face. She asked, Really? Saying that, she looked at Ethan. Ethan gave an awkward laugh, nodded, and said, Yes, and I am with Grace. Mary and Frank both widened their eyes, looking at each other, faces full of astonishment. Son, how did you two suddenly get together? Mary asked in amazement. Before college started, Ethan replied honestly. Grace asked Lily weakly, Mom, you won't object, right? Lily suddenly laughed. She laughed very happily. Ha ha, good thing. Why would I object? I'm too happy to object. Lily laughed, tears welling up in her eyes. It was happiness and also emotion. She had thought Grace and Ethan wouldn't get together and was even thinking of matchmaking them. Unexpectedly, the two were suddenly dating. Simply, a surprise. Save her a lot of effort. Ha ha ha. Date well. Get married when you do your internship in college. Lily continued. Grace. My God, why is Mom in a bigger rush than me? Grace blushed and whispered. How can it be that fast? Lily immediately said seriously, Hey, not fast, not fast. You'll be 23 when you graduate. That age is perfect. Get married, get pregnant in a year or two, and have a baby at exactly 25. That age is best for childbearing. Grace. Mom, you're arranging this way too fast, aren't you? At this time, Mary chimed in. Then I have to see what year it is in a few years. What sign the baby will be born under. George laughed. Any sign is fine, but it's best to be born before June. That way, when starting kindergarten, they can start half a year early. Hey, I think that Sunshine Kindergarten near the neighborhood is pretty good. Although it's private and a bit expensive, the teachers teach well, and they even teach English. Lily shook her head and said, Sunshine Kindergarten is just okay. I suggest going to the institutional kindergarten. I have a classmate there. If we pull some strings, we should be able to get in. The conditions there are good, and the education is good too. Mary spoke up. Hey, I think kindergarten doesn't matter where. The most important thing is elementary school. The elementary school has to be good. I think normal university attached elementary is nice. Right, normal attached. That school is good. I heard many from there can get into no. To middle school. Oak Creek High is okay too. Later, they can definitely be like Ethan and Test as the state valedictorian. Lily said excitedly, Hey, normal attached is nice, but how can it compare to the railroad elementary? George shook his head, offering his own opinion. Just like that, apart from the taciturn Frank, the three elders engaged in a heated discussion about the future grandchild's kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, and even which industry to work in later. Grace and Ethan looked at each other, both bewildered. Ethan hurriedly interrupted, laughing, Hey, Uncle Annie, isn't it a bit too early to talk about this? Lily slapped her forehead, realizing right seems a bit early. Then when do you two plan to get married? Grace almost sprayed her tea. She blushed and said, Mom, it's also too early to bring this up. Lily said seriously, Hey, not early. Just a matter of 2 or 3 years. Should be put on the agenda. Grace twitched her mouth. That's still 2 or 3 years away. George smiled and waved his hand. Grace, you actually hid it from us before? What, afraid we'd object? We are very open-minded. Besides, I watched Ethan grow up. This kid has a kind heart, a good personality, and is promising. He fits my standard for a son-in-law perfectly. I used to worry you two were too familiar to get together. Now, my heart can finally rest. Lily took over the conversation and laughed. Yes, we all hoped you two could be together. Just now I was discussing with Mary how to matchmake you guys. Now it seems we don't need to. Ha! You guys date well. When the age is right, get married when you should, have kids when you should. Hearing this, Grace's worries completely dissipated. She smiled sweetly. Hee, thanks Mom and Dad. Mary patted Ethan's shoulder and said seriously, You two are together now. Don't bully Grace in the future. If I find out, see if I don't twist your ear off. Yes, yes, Mom. I won't bully Grace. Besides, since we were kids, I haven't had the ability to. Ethan replied helplessly. Laughter instantly erupted at the table. Frank wasn't good with words, but he was truly happy in his heart. Everyone is so happy today. I'll bring out the good liquor I've been hiding and let old George enjoy himself. Hey, great. Frank, you were hiding good liquor? From now on, we are doubly related in-laws. Don't hide it. Hurry and bring out for me to taste, George said happily. Frank got up and brought a bottle of white liquor, placing it on the table. Ethan took it smoothly, opened the cap, and personally poured for the two of them, finally filling his own glass. Uncle George, I toast to you. Rest assured, I will take good care of Grace. Ethan raised his glass and smiled. George laughed heartily and said happily, Good. With you taking care of Grace, I'm very at ease. Come. The three clinked glasses. Ethan was happy, and to show respect, he drank it all in one gulp. Seeing this, George exclaimed, This kid. Couldn't tell his alcohol tolerance is actually decent. Now I have one more person to drink with. Lily rolled her eyes at him. You drink less. You think you're still as young as Ethan. Okay. Happy today. Just let me have 2 more glasses. Don't worry, drink to enjoyment, but absolutely won't get drunk. George quickly patted his chest to guarantee. Lily smiled. Fine. I'm happy today too. I'll allow you 2 extra glasses. Another burst of laughter erupted at the table. Ethan watched all this, feeling doubly warm inside. Such a life was wonderful, peaceful and warm. He reached his hand under the table and secretly held Grace's hand. Grace turned her head. They looked at each other and smiled. Everything understood without words. After eating, Ethan and Grace were preparing to clear the dishes when suddenly there was a knock at the door. Lily walked over quickly and opened the door. Outside was the travel-worn Luke Brooks. Hey Luke, how come you're here too? Lily asked in surprise. Hello, Annie. I came to see. Luke gave a dry laugh and scratched his head. Come on in. Heard from your dad that you came back to study, Lily smiled. Luke entered and immediately greeted the other elders. Luke had also lived in the Mill residential compound as a child. A group of kids played together all day, so they were all familiar. Grace glared at Luke. Why did you follow us home? Haha. Grace, my memory hasn't faded yet. I remember where you live. Luke smiled smugly. Lily and Mary brought out fruit. Lily said happily, Luke, you came back at the right time. Let me tell you some good news. In a few years, you can drink at Grace's wedding. I'm telling you, Grace and Ethan are dating. You and your parents have to come drink at the wedding later. These words struck Luke's head like bolts of lightning. Boom! Luke was instantly stupefied, his legs went soft, and he slumped to the floor. My God, already at the stage of discussing marriage. And Uncle George and Aunt Lily actually agreed. Oh my heavens! Oh my God! My deities! Why do you treat me like this? I am a child of destiny. Luke's eyes filled with hot tears on the spot. Hey, what's wrong, Luke? Why are you crying? Lily quickly went to help him up. Luke fought back the tears, holding them in, and said bitterly, Annie, I'm fine. I just got a brick in my eye. Huh? Got what? A brick? Lily asked, bewildered. I'm fine, really. Auntie, I'm going to the bathroom to wash my face. Luke scrambled into the bathroom. He didn't come out for a long while. When he did, his eyes were dull, looking like his soul was lost. George smoked a cigarette and asked with a smile, Luke, your parents are back. If there's time, invite them over for a meal. I called your dad last time. He said he's still busy for a few days. What exactly is your dad busy with now that he's back in the country? Luke squeezed out an ugly smile and replied, I heard my dad say he's busy with the garment factory. 2 days ago, he ate with the leaders of the Investment Promotion Bureau, saying he wants to build some garment factory and do import-export trade or something. My dad also said the country is preparing to enter the WTO, so there are more opportunities in import-export trade. I don't really understand the rest. George paused and smiled. Your dad, his business vision is still very sharp. Come, sit and have tea. Haven't seen you in so long. Luke just wanted to go home and have a good cry, but he couldn't leave right now. He had to obediently sit over and chat with George and Frank. Ethan, seeing Luke's awkward, fidgety appearance in the kitchen, almost laughed out loud. This guy had studied abroad for so many years but was still so socially awkward. Asking him to chat with elders was harder than chatting with animals. 1 hour later, Ethan and Grace went downstairs, intending to take a walk in the neighborhood to digest their food. Suddenly, rapid footsteps sounded from the stairwell behind them. Ethan, you stop right there. Luke ran down, gasping for large breaths of air. What's up? Why aren't you upstairs chatting with my dad? Why run down here? Ethan asked with a grin. Luke's face fell. I don't want to. It's torture. Don't change the subject. Ethan, I'm telling you, although you have obtained Grace's parents' approval, you haven't obtained mine. Grace is so excellent, beautiful, and beautiful. The only man who can match her is the most excellent man. Cough. Someone like me, for example. But absolutely not you. Ethan put his hands in his pockets and smiled. I don't see how you're more excellent than me. Luke huffed. Then where are you more excellent than me? Ethan stood up straight and smiled. I'm bigger than you. Luke? Nanny? Where the hell are you bigger than me? Ethan gave a wicked laugh. I'm taller than you. And bigger everywhere. Luke immediately puffed out his chest and looked up, only to realize he was half a head shorter than Ethan. Damn, Ethan, what does that count for? I am an accomplished artist of the European school. I've got 2 inches on you. I'm a school long jump champion. I've got 2 inches on you. I can high dive. I've got 2 inches on you. I speak fluent French. I've still got 2 inches on you. Holy crap. Can't you change the line? I still have 2 inches on you. Rounding up, that's 4 inches. Luke? Luke was so angry he almost vomited blood, his face turning the color of pig liver. Fuck, you. You're bullying people too much. It hurt. It really hurt. Grace covered her mouth and laughed straight out, seeing him deflated. Truly too funny. Ethan patted his shoulder and laughed. Cry. As the song lyrics say, men crying is not a crime. What? Luke wailed, covered his face, and ran away. Ethan Ford, you wait. I will be back. Luke dropped one last sentence, and his figure quickly disappeared at the end of the road. Grace laughed. Ethan, you really are too bad. But I like it. That Luke guy is too annoying and thick-skinned too. You almost made him vomit blood just now, huh? Ethan smiled. That guy doesn't have a bad heart. He just has main character syndrome and refuses to accept reality. But sooner or later, he'll accept it. All right, ignore him. Let's go buy Rocket Pops. Hearing about Rocket Pops, Grace's eyes instantly lit up. Yay. Holding hands, the two walked to the neighborhood entrance. They bought 2 popsicles at Aunt Lana's store and sat under a big tree in front of the neighborhood to enjoy the shade. Under the shade, the autumn afternoon lost some of its heat and gained some coolness. Occasionally, a few withered leaves drifted down from the tree, spinning in the air, tracing an arc. The weather is so nice today, so comfortable. Grace licked her Rocket Pop, looking at the distant city skyline. Yeah, so peaceful. Ethan sighed with emotion. Ethan, if we have kids, do you want a boy or a girl? Grace suddenly blushed and asked. I like them both. I have no special preference. Boy or girl, they're our own kids. Ethan teased. What? You want kids already? Haha. Ethan smiled wickedly, his grin revealing lecherous intent. Grace's cheeks turned even redder. She turned her head away shyly. No way. I was just asking. You bad egg, what messy thoughts are in your brain? Ethan said with a straight face. Are there? Look at me. I'm full of righteousness, okay? Not looking, just won't look. Grace said proudly, refusing to turn her head to look at him. Really look. See how pure my smile is. Pure at first glance, okay. Ethan continued to persuade. Shameless, Grace still didn't turn back, huffing. Ye gods, what is that? Gracie, look quick, a UFO. Ethan suddenly exclaimed. Where? Grace turned quickly, intending to look where Ethan was pointing. But the moment she turned her head, Ethan's face suddenly appeared before her eyes, and his lips inadvertently kissed hers. Grace's face turned apple red in an instant. Damn it, tricked by Ethan again. You lied to me. Before she could finish speaking, Ethan's hand suddenly appeared behind her head. Grace felt her cheeks burning. She could only let Ethan do as he pleased. Ethan, really pushing his luck more and more. No, next time it's my turn to sneak attack him. After a long time, Ethan finally let her go. Grace caught her breath, her pretty eyes like waves, her pink cheeks flushed. She said shyly, Bad egg, in broad daylight, you dare to take liberties with this princess? Watch me deal with you. Saying that, Grace moved to pinch him. Ethan dodged quickly, smiling triumphantly. Hey, Gracie, wait a second. Your Rocket Pop is melting. Grace noticed her popsicle starting to drip. She stuffed the whole thing in her mouth and mumbled indistinctly, Wait till I finish, then I'll deal with you. Nye, then say it after you finish. I'm running first. Ethan laughed. Don't run. Grace could only chase after him while eating the popsicle. The two chased and played, their laughter echoing at the neighborhood entrance. Night. Grace washed up, lay in bed hugging Pink Pig, ready to sleep. Pink Pig, you are so soft. Pig head, so cute. Why do you look so much like Ethan? Is he your brother? Why aren't you talking? Sigh. Looking at you all lonely, I guess I'm the only one in this world who loves you. Grace muttered to herself, rubbing Pink Pig's face, stretching it, and squashing it flat. At this moment, a thump-thump sound came from the window. Definitely that guy, Ethan. Grace kicked Pink Pig flying and scrambled up from the bed. She ran to the window, pulled open the curtains, and sure enough, saw Ethan's cheeky, smiling face. "Ethan, not sleeping at night? What do you want?" Grace crossed her arms and asked haughtily. "Haha, miss you so much I couldn't sleep," Ethan admitted frankly. Hearing this, Grace's heart felt sweet, like she had eaten honey. Then what do you want? We can't just not sleep, right?" Ethan rolled his eyes and laughed. "How about I come sleep in your room? Or you come sleep in my room?" Grace's pretty face turned red. She spat. "You wish. No way. This princess is sleepy. Don't want to talk to you. Good night." Grace immediately closed the curtains. But standing behind them, her little heart thumped wildly, her face red and ears hot, because her mind couldn't help but picture lying in the same bed with Ethan. This. Normally, generally speaking, when men and women date, when the time comes, don't they lie in the same bed? The more Grace thought, the hotter she felt. Although she was somewhat mentally prepared, when it came down to it, there was still an indescribable nervousness, the super nervous kind. So conflicted. Grace jumped onto the bed, buried her head under the pillow, kicking her smooth little calves up and down. After a long while, she poked her head out, grabbed Pink Pig, pulled its pig ears, and said shyly, "Pink Pig, you don't want your spot taken by Ethan either, right? Right? If he comes over to sleep, you'll lose my embrace. I treat you so well. You can't bear to leave me either, right? Give me some reaction. Silly thing. Forget it. You sleep by yourself." Grace punched Pink Pig away, covered her head with the quilt, and went to sleep. On the other side, Ethan lay on the windowsill, looking at Grace's darkened room, secretly laughing. No need to guess that girl was definitely shy. Teasing that girl was really fun. But what he just said was also a kind of probe. It seemed Grace wasn't quite ready yet. For things like this, a girl would definitely be nervous the first time. If it really came to the crunch, she'd probably be nervous to death. Ethan wasn't in a hurry. The home run would happen sooner or later. Closing the curtains, Ethan lay on his bed, looking at the ceiling, scenes of being with Grace during the day floating in his mind. He had to say, the time spent with her was truly happy, carefree, as if returning to childhood. When with Grace, it was as if that pure, joyful side within Ethan's mature soul was activated. No deception, no intrigue, no thousands of hidden agendas. Just simply wanted to play with her, laugh with her. The corner of Ethan's mouth hooked into a smile. He murmured, "Days like this are really nice." Wednesday morning, Ethan took another day off and came to the company to prepare for the 361 software launch. In the company's technical department hall, Ethan had Liu Zhang clear a space in the office area and project the 361 server backend onto the white wall. Tank, Calvin, and the heads of all departments were all present, ready to prepare for any eventuality according to the predictions in the file. "Cal, is the e-commerce platform fully stocked and information aligned?" Ethan asked solemnly. Calvin nodded and replied, "Checked and confirmed 3 times. West Ford e-commerce platform is ready." Tank followed. "Brother Ethan, the goods are stocked in the warehouse." Ethan gave a hum of approval, then looked at Ross Lawton from legal and asked, "Are all legal document flows cleared?" "Yes, already combed through," Ross said seriously. "E-commerce customer service and software customer service are all trained and in place," Britstone added. Ethan checked the time. Exactly 9:00 a.m. He smiled. "Very good. All positions ready. 361 software officially launches." With Ethan's final say, the staff of various departments began to operate. "Mr. Ford, we're on the Yahoo homepage. Our ad will roll continuously for 1 day." The software operations staff from the technical department stood up and shouted, "Mr. Ford, 51 soft ad posts are officially published now. The bot software has started bumping the posts. I've started sharing the Lucky Draw marketing campaign here. User phishing marketing has begun." Liu Zhang stood up and said, "Mr. Ford, no issues with the West Ford e-commerce embedded package. Links are normal. 361 PC Safety Manager official version has started pushing user upgrades. The existing 80,000 users will automatically upgrade to the official version as long as they are online." Ethan looked at the constantly jumping number of new users on the back-end projection, smiled knowingly, and said, "Very good. First day, new user target, 200,000. Monthly new users must exceed 1 million. March toward the goal. 1 million is just the base. strive for 10 million users or even higher. In 2000, the number of internet users in the country was 22.5 million. Ethan's expectation for 361 software was to capture more than 90% of the market share and grow year by year with new internet users. This free software was free for the vast majority of ordinary personal users. Besides Westford e-commerce, it didn't follow a bundled marketing profit model, didn't act as bloatware, and wouldn't give bloatware a chance to promote through 361 Safety Manager. Everything followed the principle of user experience first, building a good reputation. The profit model relied entirely on membership business and customized security business for the enterprise side. Just the profit from these two areas was enough for 361 to develop rapidly, possess huge cash flow, and earn more money. Moreover, Ethan only used security software as an entry point into the internet industry. The e-commerce platform was the key to converting traffic into revenue. E-commerce was the most profitable internet product of the next 20 years. The upstream and downstream industrial chains extending from e-commerce, logistics, payments, finance were all money-sucking tools. In Ethan's vision, the internet business landscape of an e-commerce plus social platform was already showing its first signs with the launch of 361 software. Westford e-commerce plus Arctic Systems. With these two companies in hand, the future was promising. As for that man at Amazon, sooner or later, there would be a head-on battle with him. At that moment, the chat rooms and forums of the internet suddenly exploded with activity. Threads were being forwarded frantically in chat lobbies and pinned to the top of hot sections on message boards. Breaking news. The country's first free antivirus software is live. The correct way to use 361 PC Safety Manager. Check out the review. Highly recommending 361 PC Safety Manager. Finally, software with a conscience. Longtime user of the beta here. After 2 months, the official version is finally out. Celebration time. The first heuristic antivirus software in the country. My experience report inside Westford Electronics is amazing. A free security guardian. What a deal. Noon. The Tech Park, Chicago. Green Shield Corporation. A middle-aged man in a suit walked briskly toward the CEO's office and knocked. Come in. A deep voice sounded from inside. The man pushed the door open and immediately said, Mr. Trask, the cybersecurity forums are blowing up. A piece of software called 361 PC Safety Manager just released its official version. Everyone online is talking about it. I'm afraid it's going to make a serious impact on our business. Inside the office, a middle-aged man with a square jaw, black-rimmed glasses, and thinning silver hair was hunched over his desk. Hearing this, he looked up, his expression startled. Oh, 361 PC Safety Manager? Why have I never heard of it? Gordon Trask asked, puzzled. Well, Mr. Trask, the beta version was only circulating in small circles before. I saw some review posts when I was browsing the forums, mentioning it was free and used a heuristic detection mechanism. It caused a bit of a stir back then, but I noticed not many people were actually using it. Most were just testing the waters, so I didn't pay it much mind. But I didn't expect them to release the official version today. Every major forum is discussing it. It's causing a huge sensation. The most important thing is, judging by the comments, the reputation is stellar. It's getting massive support from individual users. If this continues, I have a feeling this software will be a strong competitor for Green Shield. The man's face grew grave as he finished speaking. Green Shield was one of the earliest companies to enter the internet security sector in the country. Their primary clients were large enterprises with security needs, and they also had a paid product, Green Shield Antivirus. Users had to pay an annual fee to use it, and that software accounted for nearly half of Green Shield's revenue. Hearing this, Gordon Trask's face also turned serious. Secretary Lee, check immediately which company developed this. Also, download the software and hand it over to the technical department for analysis. And monitor the traffic trends on their official website. Give me a report as soon as possible. This concerned commercial competition. He had to take it seriously. Knowing the enemy was the only way to win. He needed to understand this company and this software immediately. Yes, Mr. Trask, I'll convey your orders right away. Secretary Lee nodded. He was about to turn and leave when Trask called him back. Wait, is there something else, sir? Lee stopped and looked back. Tell the technical department to speed up the development of our own heuristic detection mechanism. We can't drag our feet anymore. If they get it done, the whole department gets their bonuses early. Trask said solemnly. Yes, understood. Lee responded and quickly left the office. Alone, Trask immediately searched for 361 PC Safety Manager online and found the official website. The moment he clicked in, he was stunned. The homepage had only a single slogan and the West Ford Electronics logo. Your forever free guardian, 361 PC Safety Manager. Below the slogan was a massive counter, the numbers jumping incessantly. 103,345, 103,386, 103,412. Every second, the number ticked up. Below the counter, it read, Users served by 361 PC Safety Manager. We hope you'll be the next. Trask was dumbfounded. Over 100,000 users on the very first day. Incredible, unbelievable. Trask was deeply shaken, but a question rose in his mind. So many users would require a massive number of servers and significant maintenance costs. If the software was permanently free, how would they make a profit? Carrying this doubt, he scrolled down and saw the next screen. A comparison between the forever free version and the premium membership version. In that instant, it was as if a bolt of lightning had struck his brain. You can play the game like this. In his concept, the cybersecurity field was a service for enterprises. Charging individual users was extremely difficult. Set the price slightly high and they wouldn't accept it. Yet here, users paid quarterly or annually. It was a significant sum. I provide a service, you give me money. That was the traditional business philosophy. That was why revenue from individual users had always been lackluster. Seeing the 361 membership model now, he was shocked. So security software could be done this way. Trask's heart grew heavier. This software truly had the potential to become a powerful competitor in the field. 6 p.m., San Jose. Arctic Systems. Matt Thorne was holding a high-level meeting to discuss the operational strategy for their instant messenger, ICQ. As the meeting neared its end, Thorne prepared to wrap things up. Zach Bell suddenly spoke up. Matt, about Ethan Ford. That 361 software launched officially today. Did you know? Yeah, I know. Ethan told me. What about it? Thor didn't think much of it. Matt, the launch. It's gone way beyond our expectations, Bell said, taking a deep breath. Oh, what's the situation? Thor asked, curious. Ethan's 361 Safety Manager is live. According to the latest user count on their official site, public users are at 215,566. It hasn't even been 24 hours, and they crossed 200,000 users. Also, looking at their download page, there's absolutely no lag. Server response is normal. It seems Ethan made ample preparations before the launch. Within a month, the user count is extremely likely to exceed 1 million, Bell reported. Everyone in the conference room looked shocked upon hearing the news, especially Matt Thorne, who is usually unflappable. He asked in astonishment, what? It's already reached 210,000? How could it grow by that many users in a single day? How? How did he do it? Zach Bell gave a bitter smile. I don't know the specifics of how he did it, but by the time I browsed the forums, 361 PC Safety Manager was already viral across the entire web. Chat rooms, major forums, everyone is discussing this software. It seems West Ford is incredibly skilled at viral marketing. Just like before, they always manage to get netizens participating in the discussion, raising product awareness. I've never seen this kind of marketing technique before. It seems to be a unique operational skill of West Ford. Especially on the major forums, suddenly, dozens of hot threads about 361 appeared in a single day, and the engagement on them is sky high. Anyone who sees them would be curious enough to click. You could say West Ford is perhaps already at the forefront of the industry when it comes to internet marketing. These are all things worth studying seriously. Hearing this, Matt Thorne exhaled heavily, sighing with emotion. Ethan Ford. He really is unpredictable. How on earth does he come up with these marketing methods? Is there really such a genius in this world? Thorne felt even more anticipation regarding Ethan. He was eager to see how Ethan would unfold his work at Arctic Systems and lead the company toward multi-million-dollar revenues. Zach, study the 361 Safety Manager software. Understand the product highlights from a technical perspective and form a report. Zane, you go look into West Ford's operational maneuvers. Learn from them, Thorne said seriously to the two men. Zane King nodded. Will do. It's definitely worth learning. Also, I plan to ask Ethan for some advice. I hope he won't be stingy with his guidance. Currently, Ethan's position at Arctic Systems was technically higher than Zane King's, making him a superior. Asking a superior for advice shouldn't be a problem. Thorne thought for a moment and said, good idea. While you're at it, contact Ethan and ask him to come to San Jose when he's free. Treat him to dinner and get the ball rolling on our company's operations. Yes, Zane replied. 10 p.m., downtown Chicago, the commercial district. Lights were out in the rest of the high-rise, but the floor housing West Ford Electronics was still brightly lit. All the staff were still busy, especially the customer service team and the technical department. The phones were ringing off the hook. Other technicians were maintaining the servers, managing load balancing to prevent the heavy traffic from crashing the e-commerce platform. Leo, how's the traffic on the download page? Ethan checked the time and asked. Boss, traffic has stabilized from the peak. The pressure on the servers has dropped a lot. Leo Zhang adjusted his glasses, looking excited and not the least bit sleepy. Good. Based on this high-traffic experience, your tech team needs to update the server framework. We must adopt a high-traffic response plan to prevent bugs. Prepare 2 extra standby servers just in case, Ethan instructed. Yes, boss. We've already implemented the high concurrency architecture based on the technical documents you provided, plus the server load balancing technology. It's fully capable of handling the current concurrency. Once the architecture is perfected, handling 1 million daily hits won't be a problem, Leo said excitedly. High concurrency architecture was a brand new field for him. Ever since he read Ethan's technical documents, everything became clear. He had been studying this new technology while expanding the servers. It could greatly relieve server pressure and lower costs. If this technology were applied to platforms like Arctic Systems or the Portal, it would be transformative. Just a massive reduction in server costs alone would be enough to make those Portal sites drool. His admiration for Ethan's technical skills grew deeper. He didn't know where Ethan learned these advanced technologies, but it was impressive. Ethan smiled faintly. Very good. Moving forward, the technical department needs to rotate staff for 24-hour shifts. Try to prevent any system issues with 361. After collecting user computer data, patches need to be updated in a timely manner. Yes, boss. I'll follow your operational guidelines. Leo said seriously. Ethan continued. Out of the 350,000 users for 361, how many are members so far? Leo checked the real-time backend data. Boss, membership count is already over 55,000. Current membership revenue is $480,000. The original price was $30 a month, but the launch promotion discounted it to $9. This membership price was very low compared to the one-time purchase of antivirus software for hundreds of dollars, so the ratio of paid users was much higher than typical security software. This was Ethan's model, acquiring greater profit through scale and low unit price. $480,000 in membership fees. Not bad. Ethan chuckled. This number exceeded expectations. The conversion rate was high, and that was just one day's revenue. They made a killing, and they hadn't even officially tallied the enterprise-side fees yet. This software not only brought in massive traffic, but also generated substantial revenue for West Ford. This income already surpassed the daily revenue of all West Ford Electronics retail stores combined. In the future, it would become one of the top 2 profit projects for the company. Ethan then turned to Calvin Trent. Calvin, how's the growth on the e-commerce platform? Boss, out of the 350,361 users, over 150,000 jumped to the e-commerce platform. We've closed over 30,000 orders. The platform's single-day sales volume has reached $4.8 million. Average spending is around $160. Low-price products like cases, keyboards, and mice are selling very well. Calvin took a deep breath, his eyes red with exhaustion but shining with excitement. Watching the e-commerce sales climb, he was in a state of magical euphoria. Even if his body was tired, his spirit was high. It was completely unexpected. This sales volume was astounding. Was this the charm of an internet e-commerce platform? It was vastly higher than the offline stores. Online computer parts were cheaper than in stores, with an average profit margin of only 15%, but because the volume was high enough, the gross profit was over $700,000. And that was just the daily gross profit. Terrifying, it was more than 10 times higher than Sterling Tech. Turnover of $4.8 million. It's all right. Ethan smiled. Membership fees plus the e-commerce profit. West Ford's daily gross profit broke $1 million. Revenue was taking off. That's just all right. Calvin was dumbfounded. How high were the boss's expectations? This sales volume was enough to look down on any computer parts company in the state, right? Seeing his shock, Ethan laughed. Don't be too surprised. High sales on e-commerce is normal. In the future, it'll be common for self-operated e-commerce platforms to hit tens of millions or even hundreds of millions. This reminded Ethan of the future Cyber Monday, or Singles Day events, where single-day sales hit billions. Compared to that, a few million in sales was nothing in Ethan's eyes. Maybe having seen too much made it hard to be surprised. But for Calvin and the others who hadn't seen the future, it was an astronomically high figure. Hearing that daily sales could break 10 million in the future, Calvin suddenly had even greater expectations for West Ford e-commerce. No wonder Ethan placed such importance on the 361 software and the e-commerce platform. 361 acquired the traffic, and the e-commerce platform converted that traffic into profit, attracting users to buy through cost-effectiveness. This profit model was advanced, too advanced. Boss, why do I feel like the conversion rate of traffic to sales isn't actually that high? There's room for improvement, right? Calvin asked. Ethan leaned back in his chair and smiled. That's because online payments and logistics aren't mature yet. Right now, online shopping requires complicated bank transfers. The steps are complex, and most people don't really know how to shop online. Secondly, logistics. Platforms like eBay and others haven't fully developed, and the biggest constraint is shipping. It affects the shopping experience. Right now, almost all online shipping goes through the postal service. It's very slow, and packages get lost. Usually, buying one item means waiting 2 weeks or even a month, especially for areas with poor transportation. So currently, among internet users, the number of people who actually shop online isn't that large. That's why despite the massive traffic coming in, the actual transactions aren't incredibly high. Hearing this analysis, Calvin felt enlightened. He asked excitedly, "Boss, is our next step to push for more convenient payment methods and logistics?" Ethan snapped his fingers. Bingo! After the e-commerce platform stabilizes, I'll start testing a new payment system within the tech department and establish a financial company. Secondly, West Ford will build regional mega warehouses across the country and establish our own logistics network. West Ford Logistics. These are the things we will do in the future. Everyone present looked excited, as if the business landscape Ethan described was already unfolding before their eyes. Calvin clenched his fist, suppressing his inner excitement. He hadn't expected Ethan to have such a clear vision for the company's development, taking firm steps one by one without rushing. The boss always seemed to have a grasp on the future. He had definitely followed the right leader. Ethan checked the time. It was already 10:30 p.m. Everyone worked hard today. The official launch of 361 was a success. Pack up your things, organize the reports, and get ready to go home. Leo, arrange the night shift for the tech and customer service teams. Then go back and get some rest. Leo smiled. Boss, I'm not tired. You go back and rest first. I'll take the first shift tonight. Ethan looked at Leo with surprise, not expecting him to understand the concept of leading from the front. It seemed his management skills were improving. All right, as long as you have it arranged. Fiona, come to my office for a moment. Ethan turned and said to Fiona Hart, the head of the finance department. Okay, Fiona responded. In the office, Ethan sat in his executive chair. After thinking for a moment, he said, Fiona, everyone worked hard today. I plan to give everyone a reward, so they'll be even more motivated. Ethan was quite familiar with corporate management. If conditions allowed, one must incentivize employees to improve their sense of belonging and gain. Incentive mechanisms were science. Knowing how to motivate employees could better stimulate their initiative, enthusiasm, and loyalty. Incentives could be divided into welfare, institutional, and random incentives. Welfare meant daily perks like snacks and team building. Institutional included bonuses, promotions, and stock options. Random incentives were used during major company events to boost morale. The current situation called for a random incentive. After the entire staff went all out for a major event, leaving them with no sense of gain afterward would drain their enthusiasm. Rewarding them now would make them more active in future work. Boss, go ahead. I'll write it down, Fiona said with a happy smile, thinking Ethan's move was very appropriate. Take $40,000 from the company finances and distribute bonuses to employees in each department based on their rank, especially the technical department. They did a massive amount of work for the 361 launch and often pulled all-nighters. It's been tough on them. Ethan emphasized the technical department. Fiona understood. Ethan meant to weight the bonus heavily toward the tech team. Okay, boss, I understand, Fiona replied. For employees who worked overtime, pay double to triple their salary in accordance with regulations. Do everything by the book, Ethan instructed firmly. Yes, Fiona noted it down with a pen. In this era, private companies that paid overtime were rare unicorns. The boss's phrase, "If you won't do it, there are plenty of others who will," had become a heavy stone in the hearts of workers. But Ethan didn't plan to operate that way. Ethan aspired to be a national entrepreneur, not a predatory capitalist. He could make a lot of money, but he would use his means and channels to give back to society. Because this land was the country he loved. After giving his instructions, Ethan checked the time again. It was 11:00 p.m. It's getting late. You should go back and rest too. You've worked hard today, and your kids are probably waiting for you. Ethan smiled at Fiona. Yes, boss, you rest early too. I'll head out now, Fiona replied with a smile, then stood up and left the office. Now, only Ethan was left in the office. Ethan took out a Parliament cigarette, lit it, and walked to the huge floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the bustling night view outside. Under the night curtain, the neon lights flickered, mesmerizing. Ethan slowly exhaled a smoke ring, his gaze firm. Westford Company would rise along with the nation. No one could stop it. 2 days later, Friday evening, Ethan, exhausted from a day of military training, collapsed onto a bench in the campus grove. Grace Miller sat beside him, gently massaging his shoulders. Ethan, is your training really this intense? Look at you, you're about to collapse, Grace asked, puzzled. Ethan rolled his eyes. Gracie, what do you think? How about you try it? Formation marching in the morning, physical training plus a 6-mile run in the afternoon, and then practicing stance. The instructors are pushing us to our limits. Grace's eyes widened in surprise. You guys do that much? I just practice standing posture and marching every day. Plus, I'm a supervisor now, so I don't train much. It's not that hard, Ethan said enviously. Well, you're the flower of your class. I bet the instructors look out for you. Sigh, I didn't expect appearance discrimination even in boot camp. Hey, wait, I'm pretty handsome too. Why don't I get that treatment? Grace covered her mouth and laughed, teasing, You shameless. No one has thicker skin than you. Ethan's eyes darted around, and he smiled. Gracie, can you do me a favor? What favor? Grace asked curiously. My back is a little itchy. Can you scratch it for me? Ethan turned sideways, lying down to expose his back. You smell like sweat. It stinks, Grace said with disgust, but she still leaned over, reaching under Ethan's shirt to scratch his itch. Where is it? Grace asked. Lower. Here. No, a bit to the left. Is it here? Lower. Here, right? Grace bent further, exploring his back. Ethan suddenly lifted his head and planted a kiss on her lips. MH. Ethan, you dare sneak attack me. Grace raised her head, blushing, and glared at him shyly. Couldn't help myself. Understand, please, Ethan grinned mischievously. Grace's face turned as red as an apple, and she pinched his waist. Ow, Grace, what are you doing? If I couldn't help myself either. Understand, please, Grace rubbed her fist and huffed. Ethan sat up in a flash, shrinking back with his hands in a defensive posture. Don't come over here. If you come closer, I'll scream. Scream all you want. Even if you scream until your throat breaks, no one will come to save you. Grace's eyes narrowed into crescents as she closed in step by step. Broken throat. Broken throat. Grace. Damn it, don't make me laugh. I'm to prepare to die. Grace suppressed her laughter and prepared to pounce. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. The phone was a lifesaver. Ethan hurriedly shouted, Stop. Let me take this call first. Grace finally stopped. Ethan took out his phone and saw it was Professor Hall calling. He let it ring 3 times before answering. Hello, Professor Hall. Haha, Ethan, that matter you asked me about is settled. Spencer Vance, the manager of the credit management department at the City Development Bank's Wells Street branch, has agreed to come out for dinner. The rest is up to you. Professor Hall's happy voice came through. Ethan was delighted. He hadn't expected Professor Hall to actually pull this connection for him. It seemed Hall had put in a lot of effort. He would have to thank him properly. That's great. Thank you so much, Professor Hall. You're my lucky star. Ethan laughed joyfully. Oh, no need to be so polite. It's only right. The time is set for Saturday night. You should be free, right? Hall asked. No problem. I'll set the location. I know what to do, Ethan replied. All right. Just give me a call once you've arranged it. This connection isn't simple, Ethan. You have to grasp it well. If you build a good relationship, it will definitely be a huge help to your career in the future, Hall advised solemnly. Understood, I understand. Thank you, Professor. Ethan thanked him again. The two exchanged pleasantries for a bit before hanging up. Seeing Ethan's excited face, Grace asked curiously, Ethan, what is it? Why so happy? Ethan picked her up and spun her around in circles. You wouldn't understand even if I told you, but it's definitely great news. Held in the air, Grace blushed and hurriedly said, Ethan, put me down quick. Someone might see. Ethan grinned mischievously, turning his cheek toward her. Kiss me once, and I'll let you go. Grace's cheeks burned. She looked left and right, checking if anyone was nearby. There. Shouldn't be anyone watching, right? Grace looked around a few times. Seeing no one else in the grove, her heart relaxed slightly. Luckily, no one was there. Gracie, really, there's no one. Hurry up and kiss me. Ethan grinned mischievously, urging her. Grace blushed, puckered her lips, and slowly leaned in. But at that moment, not far behind them, two heads sneakily poked out from behind a large tree. It was Luke Brooks and Ryan Yates. Seeing Grace pursing her lips, about to kiss Ethan's cheek, their faces changed dramatically at almost the same time. No, don't. My goddess, you can't kiss him. Ryan's face went pale as he gritted his teeth. Oh my God. Grace, you can't. Luke Brooks clawed at the tree trunk with both hands, nearly peeling off the bark. He had originally planned a lure the tiger from the mountain strategy, having Ryan distract Ethan so he could approach Grace and slowly win her back. But he hadn't expected that, after sneaking over, they would witness such an intimate scene. Damn it, this was force-feeding them dog food, and seeing Grace about to kiss Ethan felt like a knife stabbing into his heart. Pain? It was too painful. Luke, let's go stop them. Ryan couldn't hold back anymore and was about to rush out, but Luke pulled him back. A little impatience spoils great plans, brother. Luke gritted his teeth. Impatience? Impatience, my ass. Ryan couldn't help but curse. But just as his voice fell, Grace kissed Ethan on the cheek. Boom! Seeing this, the two felt like they had been struck by lightning. They collapsed to the ground almost simultaneously, howling in grief. No. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I'm going to talk with you again. Ethan paused. Huh? Where was that background music coming from? Hearing a noise behind her, Grace quickly pulled her hand from Ethan's, blushing as she looked back. Luke Brooks? Come out. Grace's shout snapped Luke out of it. Crap. I think we've been spotted. Luke scrambled up from the ground. Luke, what do we do now? Ryan asked. Be cool. Pretend we're passing by. Luke whispered back. With that, Luke squeezed out a very ugly smile and walked out from behind the tree, awkwardly saying, Ha ha, Grace. What a coincidence running into you here. Grace put her hands on her hips, glared at the two, and demanded, Why are you here? We came to admire the moon. Wow, the moon is so beautiful. Luke pretended to marvel. All right, we're just here for the moon. Ryan nodded repeatedly. Grace looked up. The sun hadn't even set yet. Where was the moon? Ethan twitched the corner of his mouth. These two guys couldn't even lie properly. Luke, are you secretly stalking us? Ethan exposed them instantly. No, absolutely not. That would be too creepy. Are we such creepy people? Ethan, I'm warning you, don't slander me. Luke argued. Ryan chimed in, right, that's too creepy. Definitely not our style. Ethan scoffed, letting them argue. He had already guessed about 80 or 90% of it. So he said, It doesn't matter if you don't admit it. You guys stay here, we're going back. With that, Ethan wrapped his arm around Grace's slender waist and walked past. Grace blushed, but allowed Ethan's arm to stay around her waist. Seeing this, Luke and Ryan's faces changed drastically, becoming even uglier. As Ethan passed them, he deliberately stopped, planted a loud kiss on Grace's cheek, and smiled. Gracie, let's go have some fun tonight. Remember to bring your ID. Huh? Grace was stunned, but Ethan's words sounded like a thunderclap in Luke and Ryan's ears. After Ethan and Grace walked away, the two slumped to the ground, looking dazed. He's twisting the knife. He's twisting the knife. Luke, he's killing us and twisting the knife. Ryan wailed with a drooping face. Killing us isn't enough? This guy, he's terrifying. Luke said, his face pale. This time, he was thoroughly crushed by Ethan. An image involuntarily floated into his mind. Grace at a hotel front desk, taking out her ID and saying shyly to the clerk, Open a suite for me. Then Grace taking the keycard, snuggling into Ethan's arms, cheeks flushed, eyes like water. Splurt. This imagined scene was like a sharp blade plunging into his heart. Pain. It was simply too painful. Oh no. Luke supported himself on the ground with both hands, wanting to cry, but having no tears. He was completely broken. On the other side, as Ethan walked Grace back to her dorm. Ethan, are we really going out tonight? Grace's little heart pounded as she asked in a low voice. I was just tricking them. But, if you want to go out, of course we can. Ethan winked, teasing her. Grace glared at him shyly. No, I don't want. She really wasn't mentally prepared. Her family upbringing had always been conservative, making her reserved in this regard. Moreover, she had never had any education in that area. At most, she had seen actors kissing on TV shows. She hadn't even seen an R-rated movie. Ethan rubbed her head and laughed. All right, we'll talk about it later. You go back and rest first. They had reached the girls' dorm. Then I'll head in. Call me tonight. Grace felt that Ethan wasn't forcing the issue, and she sighed in relief. After a reluctant goodbye, Ethan returned to his dorm. As soon as he entered, he heard wailing, singing from inside. All by myself. Don't want to be all by myself. Anymore. The three roommates were holding a concert. A Walkman was playing music, and Jason York was using a laundry pole as a microphone, singing with deep emotion. Kevin Keg O'Connor was holding a broom as a guitar, immersed in the music, unable to extricate himself. Sam Tucker had 2 buckets on the floor and was beating them to the rhythm, looking equally intoxicated. What you guys doing? Ethan twitched his mouth. Singing, bro. Want to join? Jason stopped his microphone and asked seriously. No thanks, you guys carry on. All by myself doesn't really suit me. Ethan grinned. Damn, that's harsh. But, actually, it doesn't really suit me either. I'm mainly accompanying these two to vent their single dog sorrow. Actually, I have a date later. I'm meeting Daisy from accounting class too. Leaving at 8 sharp. Jason looked at the watch on his wrist and smiled smugly. Keg froze, then suddenly grabbed Jason by the collar, looking heartbroken. Holy crap. Jason, you actually asked the girl out? You betrayed the singles alliance. Do you have any humanity left? Did you forget our solemn vow? You shameless traitor. So, I was thinking of asking Daisy to introduce her pretty roommate to you, but it looks like you don't want that. Jason spread his hands. Hearing this, Keg immediately released his collar, smoothed out Jason's wrinkled shirt, and said with a sycophantic smile, Why didn't you say so earlier? Remember to give me her number when you get back. Ethan, are you sure her name is Daisy and not Sue Ellen? Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, changing his shoes, teasing Jason. Jason patted his chest. Her name is Daisy. I've met her in person. She is so simple, kind, beautiful. And beautiful. How long have you known her? To understand her so deeply, Ethan asked curiously. I've known her for a long time. Since boot camp ended. It's been over 3 hours. Although she didn't say a word when I hit on her and only gave me a piece of paper with her name, I believe that for 2 people destined for each other, words are unnecessary. Everything is understood in silence. Jason said seriously. Keg asked in astonishment. Holy crap. Jason, you've only known her for 3 hours and you're going out tonight? Isn't that too fast? Fast. I've had faster records. 3 minutes. Jason smoothed his bangs, smiling proudly. Ethan laughed. That is indeed fast. You should probably see a doctor for that. What are you saying? I mean, asking a girl out. Why does it need to take so long? 3 hours of interaction shows I'm being relatively patient, Jason said solemnly. He checked his watch and said, Time's almost up. Brothers, I must go gallop across the plains. Giddy up. All right. No need to leave the door unlocked for me. Keg watched Jason's figure disappear out the door, scratched his head, and asked Ethan, is picking up girls really that simple? Ethan shrugged and smiled. Don't ask me, I don't know. They'll look like someone who picks up girls. You don't look like it, you are. Keg and Sam answered in unison. Ethan, oh. The next day at noon, Ethan arrived at the company. All staff were working on Saturday. Ethan called Wayne Tank Turner into his office. Inside the office was a large classical tea table made from a single slab of solid oak. In the sunlight, the golden ripples of the oak emitted a charming glow. This table was custom-made by Ethan for over $5,000, placed in the office to keep up appearances. Sometimes, you couldn't underestimate these things. The office layout reflected financial power, which in turn reflected the strength of the company boss, making those who came to discuss cooperation feel more assured. A certain degree of packaging was beneficial. This was why business people drove luxury cars, wore nice watches, and dressed in clean, neat clothes. It was all facade. Ethan sat down to brew coffee. Tank sat next to him and handed him a cigarette. Ethan took it and smiled. Not bad, Tank. Smoking parliaments now. Conditions are better, so I upgraded. No need to carry 2 packs anymore, Tank said happily. Saying that, Tank actively offered a lighter to light Ethan's cigarette. Ethan blocked the wind with one hand, lit it, then patted Tank's hand. You're a company executive now. You do need some style. By the way, how's your family? Your dad didn't come home looking for money, did he? Sent him packing 2 months ago. If he comes asking again, I won't give him a dime. No matter how much I give him, he'll gamble it all away eventually. Tank lit his own cigarette and smiled bitterly. Tank, I treat you like a brother, so I'll say something blunt. Gambling addicts aren't worth sympathy. And in their hearts, there's no family affection either, Ethan said in a deep voice. Tank sighed helplessly. I know that in my heart, but my mom. Sigh. Every family has its own difficulties. If you can't handle it, tell me. Don't hold it in and treat me like an outsider. Ethan smiled. Hearing this, Tank was very touched and nodded. Yes, boss. In this world, besides his mom, Ethan was the one who treated him best. Iron brothers, no doubt. Ethan blew a smoke ring and poured Tank half a cup of coffee. By the way, Tank, this afternoon, come with me to buy some gifts and visit Professor Hall's house. Then tonight, there's a very important dinner. You're coming too? Okay, boss. What gift are we getting for Professor Hall? Coffee beans. Tank scratched his head and asked. Ethan rolled his eyes at him and laughed. His wife's family sells coffee. Why would we give him coffee? Honestly. True, I forgot about that. Tank laughed dryly. Then what can we give? Ethan tapped the table. An antique. Huh, an antique? Tank asked in surprise. He had seen Professor Hall before and felt that Hall didn't wear jade rings or amulets. Didn't seem like the type to play with antiques. Boss, does Professor Hall collect that stuff? Ethan smiled. Professor Hall doesn't play with that stuff. Huh, then why are we giving him an antique? Shouldn't a gift cater to their interests? Tank asked, puzzled. It is catering to his interests. Professor Hall likes money. Do you dare to hand him cash? Ethan rolled his eyes. Oh well. Tank was speechless. Ethan tapped the ash from a cigarette, took a slow sip of coffee, and said, Our relationship with Professor Hall is a transactional one. Sure, there's some personal friendship, but ultimately it's about benefits, about money. He pulled a lot of strings to get me the contact at the development bank's credit department. To truly thank him, it's best to give tangible benefits. But because of his position, he can't accept cash directly. If you dare give it, he wouldn't dare take it. Giving an antique is a good method. After all, those things can be liquidated. Hearing this, Tank suddenly realized the truth and understood a lot. Haha, boss is right. I get it. Ethan blew out smoke and smiled faintly. So, Tank, gift giving is also an art. Some things can't be said explicitly or put on the table, but they are part of our social rules. Unavoidable. Tank nodded in agreement. Ethan thought for a moment and continued. By the way, print out an offer letter for a part-time job for Professor Hall's daughter, Haley Hall. Frame it and bring it along. Haley's talent for game development is pretty good. We can let her work part-time at our company, do research. Even if she can't generate economic benefits right now, she's still useful. With that, Ethan gave Tank a meaningful smile. Tank instantly understood Ethan's meaning and laughed in response. No problem. I understand. I believe Professor Hall will like this gift even more, right? Ethan smiled. Of course. That afternoon, Ethan and Tank arrived at Professor Hall's house. Ethan knocked on the door. Who is it? Mrs. Hall. It's me, Ethan responded. Footsteps hurried inside, and then the door opened. Seeing Ethan, Elena said happily, Ethan is here. Come in. Hey, Mrs. Hall. Ethan greeted, then introduced Tank to her. Elena looked at Tank twice and greeted him. Come in and sit, both of you. Professor Hall is waiting for you. Ethan carried the gifts inside and handed one of the cosmetic sets to her, smiling. Mrs. Hall, this is a small gift for you. Just a little token, please accept it. It was a set of skincare product from a foreign brand, Estee Lauder. The price wasn't cheap. It sold for hundreds of dollars in malls. Elena's eyes lit up when she saw the logo, but she hesitated and tried to decline. This brand must cost a lot, right? No. The gift is too expensive. Ethan saw that she liked the gift but was embarrassed to accept it, so he insisted. Oh, it's not expensive. A friend brought it back for me, specially, practically half price. I can't use it, so I thought Mrs. Hall could use it. He was lying, deliberately understating the value of the gift, so she would accept it. Elena looked again, knowing in her heart that Ethan was lying, but she accepted it happily. All right. Ethan, you really are thoughtful. Elena took the cosmetics gift box and continued. Professor Hall is waiting for you in the study. You go ahead. I'll prepare some snacks for you. No need. Mrs. Hall, I feel bad troubling you so much. Ethan waved his hands repeatedly. Oh, it's fine. What trouble? I'm happy you guys came. Elena laughed. Putting down the gift box, she went to prepare snacks. At this moment, Professor Hall came out of the study. Seeing Ethan and Tank, he greeted, Ethan, Wayne, come in and have some coffee. Will do, Professor. Ethan responded, leading Tank into the study. Inside the study, the three took their seats. Tank actively offered cigarettes, first to Professor Hall, then lighting it for him. Ethan didn't light a cigarette. First, he took out the gift and placed it on the table, smiling at Professor Hall. Professor, I heard you're very interested in antiques. I happen to have something here for you. I'm a layman and don't understand these things, so please appraise it. Actually, he knew Hall wasn't that interested in antiques, but saying so made Hall's hobby seem refined, which was good for the gift-giving that followed. Hall raised an eyebrow, took the box, and said, "Oh, what is it?" He opened the box. Inside was a blue and white porcelain vase. The porcelain was jade white, the blue glaze warm and moist. It was a Qing dynasty piece with high circulation in the market, belonging to the tradable category and valuable. Ethan had specially selected this from the Antique Dealers Association. It was worth over $4,000. Keep in mind, $4,000 was enough for an average family's expenses for a significant amount of time. Although Hall wasn't familiar with antiques, the card on the box already listed the antique's information, and he could roughly estimate its value. Surprise appeared in his eyes. "Ethan, this must be quite expensive, right?" Hall exhaled smoke and whispered, not expensive at all. Please just accept it with peace of mind," Ethan replied with a smile. Hall laughed too, closing the lid of the box. "Huh, you really thoughtful. Professor Hall has helped me so much. This little thing isn't enough to express my gratitude. I still have to thank you for pulling the strings," Ethan said seriously. "Hey, Ethan, you're being a stranger now. Just a small matter. Haha, come, drink coffee." Hall laughed heartily, personally pouring coffee for Ethan and Tank. Seeing that Hall had accepted the gift, Ethan smiled knowingly, picked up his coffee cup, and gave Tank a look. Tank received Ethan's signal, took a sip of coffee, and praised, "Wow, so fragrant. Professor, what kind of coffee is this? It's delicious." "Haha, it's nothing famous. Just a private reserve blend. If you like it, I'll give you a few bags to take back and try later," Hall said very generously. Tank hurriedly said seriously, "Oh, Professor, such good coffee. I want to buy more to give to my relatives and friends so they can all try it. One of these days, I'll go to Mrs. Hall's shop to buy some." Hall smiled happily. Sure. Wayne, I'll ask your Mrs. Hall to give you a discount later. Whenever you want to buy coffee in the future, just go to her. It'll definitely be the best price in the city." "That is really thank you, Professor Hall." Tank laughed excitedly. Ethan watched from the side, lighting a cigarette. Seeing the sincere look on Tank's face, he couldn't help but sigh. Tank had really improved. The three smoked, drank coffee, ate the snacks Elena brought, and chatted casually. Ethan mentioned Spencer Vance from the Credit Management Department of the Development Bank's Wells Street branch, asking Hall what he knew about him. Hall thought for a moment and said, "Spencer Vance. I haven't dealt with him much, just had dinner a few times. This person likes to play." Saying this, Hall's expression was a bit strange. Ethan saw his expression and could guess some of it. For someone as cautious as Hall to use the words likes to play, it wasn't just ordinary playing. A man's playing was nothing more than eating, drinking, whoring, or gambling. Most likely the first three. "Oh, Professor, how does Manager Vance like to play?" Ethan continued to ask. Him? He likes going to KTVs, nightclubs, those places, chatting at the table before. He talked about those things as if he were an expert. Last time at a dinner, he even invited me. I found an excuse and declined." Hall blew out smoke and chuckled. Ethan put on a look of realization. "So that's it. A lot of bosses love to play." He was no stranger to these things. Some people got rich and just thought about sensual pleasures. Those were men were most easily indulged, and where men exerted the charm of money. With money, you could use it to make those women kneel and call you daddy. Although Manager Vance loves to play, he's also extremely shrewd. "Ethan, if you want to secure the loan, it might take some effort," Hall advised. "Professor, I understand." Ethan naturally understood what he meant. To get things done, he had to make Spencer Vance happy. Just an ordinary meal might not be enough to handle Spencer Vance. Just then, light footsteps came from outside the study door. The door opened, and Haley Hall appeared. "Dad, Ethan, I'm back." Haley greeted happily. Ethan saw she was holding a C language book with a library tag on it. Haley is back. Go wash your hands. Your mom made something delicious," Hall said kindly. It was evident that the father-daughter relationship had become much closer. In a bit, I have something to discuss with Ethan." Haley stuck out her tongue, then turned to Ethan with anticipation. "Ethan, I've designed the game mechanics according to your plan. I sent it to your email. Can you check it for me later?" Ethan smiled and nodded. "Sure, no problem. By the way, I also have something to tell you. It's good news." Ethan took a professional certificate out of his bag, stood up, and handed it to Haley. "I should also fulfill my promise. Haley, would you be willing to work part-time at our company? Part-time salary is $800 a month, plus project bonuses." Ethan smiled. $800 a month was higher than most full-time salaries in private companies, and Haley was only part-time. The market rate for part-time work was at most $200 to $300 a month. The vast majority of part-time jobs couldn't get project bonuses, but Ethan offered it anyway. It was just a way to deepen the interest tie with Hall. This was a definite face-giving gesture and a release of goodwill from Ethan Hall. Really? Can I really? Haley held the certificate, extremely excited and in disbelief. Of course. I believe in you. You have talent and potential. Your future is limitless, Ethan encouraged. Thank you, Ethan. Oh no, thank you, Boss Ford. Haley bowed excitedly. Hall was also very happy. He stood up and thanked him. Ethan, giving her such an opportunity and platform. I owe you this favor. Haley, work hard for Ethan in the future. Don't embarrass your dad, understand? Haley nodded and replied, I know, Dad. Don't worry, I'll learn well and work hard. Hall nodded with gratification, then raised his coffee cup, looking deeply at Ethan, and said seriously, Come, Ethan. I'll substitute tea for wine to thank you. Professor, you're too kind. Ethan also raised his cup and drank. One old fox and one young fox looked at each other and smiled, understanding each other tacitly. 7 p.m., the Morning Star. A Honda Accord pulled into the restaurant parking lot and parked in a spot. The doors opened, and 3 middle-aged men stepped out one after another. The leader, a pot-bellied man wearing a white shirt, black trousers, glasses, and slick-back hair, looked at the entrance of the Morning Star and said, Liam, looks like we have drinks again today. Hee. Manager Vance, why did Professor Hall suddenly invite you to dinner? No one visits the temple without a cause. Liam Tate pushed up his glasses, pursing his thin lips. Spencer Vance narrowed his eyes. He said on the phone that he has a friend who wants a loan from us. Just a meal to meet. Oh, I get it. Liam understood. He had seen plenty of this. He was the team leader of the review group in the credit management department. Many companies wanting loans had to pass the review group's qualification check, so companies would basically treat them to a meal. Eating was secondary. Getting benefits was the main business. Thus, he and Spencer Vance had cooperated many times. Every corporate loan was an opportunity for them to skim some oil. This credit management department could be said to be the department with the richest oil in the branch. Leonard, look, your brother takes care of you when there's good stuff, right? Spencer Vance turned to look at Leonard Miles beside him and laughed. Yes, thank you so much, Manager Vance. Leonard Miles cupped his hands and responded with a laugh, looking grateful. Spencer Vance chuckled, but seeing the slightly different look in Leonard Miles' eyes, his smile stiffened. Because Leonard Miles had been parachuted into the credit management department 3 months ago as the director of the audit office. This position was considered the second in command of the credit management department, responsible for auditing loan issuance, liquidation, and usage supervision. Any corporate loan couldn't bypass this office. Over the past 3 months, the friction between the two in the same department had been relatively smooth. Leonard Miles was quite sensible, and their relationship had become closer. Sometimes when going out to discuss loans, Vance would bring Miles along to win him over. Miles never refused and went every time. However, in Spencer Vance's heart, he felt that Miles still intentionally kept a little distance, unlike team leader Liam Tate, who confided in him completely. Vance also understood that a truly good relationship was one with bound interests. Only then would two people be grasshoppers on the same rope, confiding in each other and cooperating seamlessly. So Vance brought him out for this dinner. The benefits had to be shared with him too. All right, let's go in together. Professor Hall is probably waiting inside. Vance pulled up his slipping belt and tied it over his round belly. The three walked to the restaurant entrance and saw Hall waiting, flanked by 2 young men. Welcome Manager Vance, Director Miles, and Team Leader Tate. Hall's attitude was very warm as he stepped forward to shake hands and greet them one by one. Hello, Professor Hall. Spencer Vance reached out and laughed. After exchanging pleasantries for a moment, Hall introduced Ethan and Tank to Vance's group. When Spencer Vance heard that Ethan had a technology company in the Zenith Tower and rented half a floor, he looked surprised. Rent in that place wasn't cheap. To open a company, there meant some level of financial strength. Boss Ford is truly young and promising. Spencer Vance extended his hand and smiled. Ethan shook his hand and said humbly, I just started the business not long ago. I still need Manager Vance's guidance. Seeing Ethan lower his posture and act appropriately, Vance thought a bit more highly of him. During the handshake, his eyes caught the watch on Ethan's wrist, a watch encrusted with diamonds. He had sharp eyes and recognized the model immediately. A new Patek Philippe diamond watch, retailing for as high as $13,000. This young man was worth a fortune. He loved dealing with these rich bosses. It made deposits, loans, and wealth management business convenient later. Wouldn't performance targets come easily that way? Oh, I wouldn't call it guidance. Let's exchange ideas, haha. Spencer Vance laughed kindly. The group chatted at the door for a while to get familiar before going upstairs to the private room. Inside the room, Ethan actively invited Spencer Vance to take the seat of honor, with Hall sitting to Vance's right. Leonard Miles and Liam Tate sat to Vance's right in order. Ethan and Tank sat on Hall's side. Seating at a dinner like this was very particular. The guest of honor sat facing the door in the main seat. The host sat to the left, the secondary guest to the right, and the second host to the second left. This way, while chatting and drinking, the guest of honor would have familiar people on both sides, making them more comfortable and relaxed. After everyone was seated, a waitress poured tea for everyone one by one. The waitress was about 20 years old, young and pretty, wearing a tight cheongsam that revealed her curvaceous figure. When the waitress poured tea for Spencer Vance, Vance's eyes almost popped out, his gaze wandering over her body. Ethan had been paying close attention to Vance and saw this. He naturally understood what Hall meant by Vance loving to play. Knowing Vance's hobby, Ethan naturally planned to cater to it, so he turned and whispered a few words in Tank's ear. Tank nodded to show he understood, then stood up and smiled. "Everyone, enjoy your tea slowly. I'm going to the restroom first." Tank turned and left the room. Ethan took the opportunity to stand up and offer cigarettes to everyone. Naturally, he offered to Hall first, then to Spencer Vance, followed by Leonard Miles and Liam Tate. Don't forget the well digger when drinking water. Offer cigarettes to the middleman first. This was the rule of the table, showing gratitude to the middleman. But the second one must be the most distinguished guest of honor, to show respect. After distributing the cigarettes, Ethan personally lit Vance's with a lighter. Vance didn't stand on ceremony, blocking the wind with his hand and accepting Ethan's respect. Vance took a drag and praised Ethan Hall. "Ha, Professor Hall. Looking at Boss Ford, he looks like someone who does big things. Limitless future ahead." To execute etiquette so thoughtfully meant this person was good at socializing and definitely wouldn't do poorly in the future. People who knew how to make friends had better chances of doing big business. Hall laughed. I agree very much with Manager Vance's words." Ethan waved his hand and said humbly, "You two stop flattering me. If you keep this up, my feet won't touch the ground. I'll float away." Ethan returned to his seat to drink tea and chat casually with everyone, not discussing business. One must never discuss business before drinking, and one must create a friendly, lively atmosphere where business can be discussed. Wait until the drinking is almost done and the meal is ending before talking business. The food and wine were served. Tank returned and poured wine for everyone using a decanter. Ethan clinked glasses with Hall, then poured more wine and stood up to address Spencer Vance. "Come, Manager Vance. First meeting, it's fate and destiny. For this fate, I toast you." "Haha, well said, Boss Ford. Over 280 million people in the country, and to drink at the same table, that's a rare fate. Come, down the hatch." Spencer Vance gave face, standing up to clink glasses. The two drained their glasses in one go. Drinking and chatting at the table, the atmosphere was warm. Ethan and Tank took turns toasting, one cup after another. 2 hours later, there were 5 empty high-end liquor bottles on the table. Spencer Vance was buzzed, his face red, already somewhat drunk. Although Ethan and Tank were also a bit tipsy, they had prepared some hangover remedies beforehand, so they weren't as drunk. Seeing the timing was right, Ethan rolled his eyes and said to Hall, "Professor Hall, I've been having a headache over the cyber cafe project recently. I need to find funds to buy equipment." Hall, being an old fox, knew this was meant for Spencer Vance, so he said boldly, I, Ethan, don't worry. Isn't Manager Vance here? He should be able to help with funding issues." "Right, Manager Vance?" Alcohol having gone to his head, Spencer Vance patted his chest and said, "Right, no problem. That's what I do. Our development bank has always supported the development of small and medium enterprises." Before Vance could finish, Liam Tate coughed, interrupting him. "Ahem, corporate loans. It's not a problem, but our bank just issued an internal notice. We have to strictly control corporate qualification reviews. The quota has shrunk a lot recently. How much can be loaned, and at what points? It still depends on the company's operating status." Liam Tate looked troubled. Hearing this, Spencer Vance reacted. He stopped his chopsticks and didn't speak. But the smiles on Hall and Ethan's faces froze. Ethan carefully savored the meaning in Liam Tate's words, and his heart went cold. "All three of you are from the credit management department. How to loan? How much to loan? Isn't it just a matter of your word? Isn't this deliberate difficulty?" Liam Tate definitely had ulterior motives for saying this. Team Leader Tate. Tank was anxious upon hearing this and was about to speak, but Ethan raised a hand to interrupt him. "I see. It seems Team Leader Tate indeed has his own difficulties. I understand completely. It's all for work. Come, come, Team Leader Tate, I toast you. Another day, I will definitely visit you personally to properly ask for advice on the specific process. Or, Team Leader Tate can come to my company for an inspection. I will definitely welcome you warmly. Ethan raised his glass, piling a face full of affectionate smiles, signaling to Liam Tate. In his heart, however, he had a new opinion of this man. This person loved money and was impatient. Ethan had dealt with banks many times and seen all kinds of bank middle managers or executives, but he had never seen anyone as impatient as Liam Tate. Bank loans involved capital flow, which meant favors exchanged. Ethan always understood how to play. The bank people should agree to help first, and then Ethan would show his sincerity based on their sincerity. But Liam Tate seemed to want to see how much sincerity Ethan had before agreeing to do it. To put it bluntly, he wanted to negotiate terms first, or even take the money first. More urgent and greedier than the average person. This kind of person, with a little power, wanted to squeeze out every drop of oil, completely disregarding long-term relationships. Truly stupid. So, treating such a person, Ethan decided not to talk for now. Wait for an opportunity to discuss terms privately. He didn't mind discussing terms first. As long as the job got done, conceding first didn't matter. Liam Tate also stood up smiling, returned the toast, and said, It's good that Boss Ford understands. I'll definitely visit your company when I have the chance. Regarding the loan, I believe with Boss Ford's qualifications, there shouldn't be a problem. His meaning was, let's agree on the terms first. If the terms are right, the thing can be done. Hearing this, Ethan smiled and sat down. At this moment, Leonard Miles, whose head was slightly balding, spoke up with a smile. Since Boss Ford mentioned this, we can start the application process first. Later, Boss Ford can send the materials to me. Let's get the process moving so we don't delay time later. Liam Tate glanced at Leonard Miles but didn't speak. Spencer Vance frowned slightly, but also remained silent, just quietly picking at his food. Ethan showed a look of surprise and smiled. Oh, that's wonderful. Then I'll thank Director Miles in advance. I'll have someone send the application materials to you tomorrow. Come, I toast you. Boss Ford is too polite. Leonard Miles also tactfully stood up and clinked glasses. This time, Ethan lowered his glass slightly to show respect. He could hear the goodwill Leonard Miles was sending, so naturally, he had to return some goodwill. After a drink, Ethan continued to flatter Spencer Vance. I heard from Professor Hall that Manager Vance is very loyal. A friend worth making deep connections with, worth pouring one's heart out to make friend with Manager Vance. I am extremely honored. This round of flattery made Spencer Vance chuckle happily, raising his glass to clink with Ethan. Hall's eyes showed increasing appreciation for Ethan. He couldn't help but sigh. How was Ethan like a young peer? He was even more formidable than old slickers who had been in the business world for decades. About half an hour later, everyone had eaten and drunk their fill, and there was a sense of departure. Spencer Vance's face was flushed from the alcohol, and he was slightly drunk. He stood up and smiled. Thank you so much for the hospitality today, Boss Ford. I'm happy to meet a friend like you. How about we call it a night? Ethan quickly stood up, went over, held his hand, and whispered in his ear, Hey, Manager Vance, why go back so soon? I've booked a KTV private room at the Grand Era Club. I was thinking of continuing to drink and be merry with Manager Vance. Why don't we stay a bit longer? Let's go have some fun together. The Grand Era Club was a business KTV ranked among the top in the city, a well-known high-end entertainment club. The girls there were beautiful, and naturally, the consumption wasn't low. While speaking, Ethan winked, showing a lecherous expression of a fellow enthusiast. Hearing they were going to the Grand Era, Spencer Vance's eyes lit up. But on the surface, he still declined. This is too embarrassing. Isn't this making Boss Ford spend too much? Ethan narrowed his eyes and smiled. It's not about spending money. I'm happy to make a friend like Manager Vance. Oh no, Brother Vance, today. Under Ethan's strong invitation, Spencer Vance reluctantly agreed. Since Spencer Vance agreed to go, the other two, Leonard Miles and Liam Tate, naturally agreed to go along. After all, Spencer Vance was the head of the department and their boss. Not going would be disrespectful. However, Professor Hall found an excuse to leave first. Spencer Vance didn't mind. Hall was in his 50s or 60s. Vance knew he couldn't keep up with the partying. So, Ethan had the restaurant arrange a designated driver, and the group of 5 headed straight for the Grand Era Club. In the car, Ethan instructed Tank to go order a few hostesses as soon as they arrived at the club. The whispers Ethan made in Tank's ear before dinner were instructions to book a luxury suite at the Grand Era. He was certain Spencer Vance would go. This man couldn't walk straight when he saw a slightly pretty waitress, let alone the curvy, sexily dressed beauties at the club. The group of 5 arrived at the Grand Era. Tank went to arrange the table, while Ethan took Spencer Vance into the private room first. A while later, Tank returned, followed by the client manager and a group of hostesses. These hostesses all had curvy figures and beautiful faces with exquisite makeup. Seeing these beauties, Spencer Vance immediately beamed. Under the influence of alcohol, he stopped being polite with Ethan and picked a beauty in a pink bodycon skirt. Leonard Miles looked a bit awkward. He didn't have this hobby, but seeing Vance pick one, he felt he couldn't refuse, so he randomly picked one. Liam Tate also let loose, smoking a cigarette and pulling a beauty into his arms, making her sit on his lap. After the 3 finished choosing, Ethan randomly picked 2, but told them to go sing by themselves after choosing. In 2000, ordering songs in KTV was like ordering food. You picked the song and gave it to the waiter to take to the main console before it would play in the room. As the music started in the room, colorful lights flashed in the dimness, creating a psychedelic illusion. Spencer Vance, with one arm around the beauty, was singing, thoroughly enjoying himself. But Liam Tate was relatively sober, smoking on the side. Ethan asked the waiter for some dice cups and pulled Liam Tate to play dice first. "Brother Liam, let them sing. How about we play a couple of rounds?" Ethan looked at him with a smile. Doubt flashed in Liam Tate's eyes, but he nodded. "No problem. Liars dice." Ethan smiled. "Sure." The two started shaking the dice. After checking his own, Liam Tate smiled. "Brother Ethan, you call first." Ethan didn't even look, staring at him. 3 ones. Liam Tate paused. Then a look of realization dawned on him. Brother Ethan is generous. "Open." Liam Tate revealed his dice. There were no ones. Ethan didn't check his own dice either. The corner of his mouth hooked into a smile. "Brother Liam, you win." "Ha ha ha. Interesting, interesting. Brother Ethan is generous," Liam Tate praised. "Brother Ethan, let's go over there for a drink." Ethan shrugged and responded, "Sure, no problem." They got up and walked to a corner. This time, Liam Tate personally handed Ethan a cigarette, whispering with a smile, "Brother Ethan is a straightforward person. Since you're so straightforward, that matter is easy to handle. But regarding Director Miles, I can't speak for him." Ethan lit the cigarette, sneering in his heart. This guy was truly insatiable. But on the surface, he still wore a face full of smiles. "I'll add another share, but I'll have to ask Brother Liam to handle it for me." Liam Tate showed a satisfied smile, patting Ethan's shoulder. "No problem, small matter. I'll work on Manager Vance." But Ethan switched to a troubled expression. "Brother Liam, looking at your bank's policy, the 1-year interest rate for small and micro short-term loans is 1%. That's not low. Look, how much do you want to borrow?" Liam Tate asked. $400,000 first, 1-year term." Liam Tate thought for a moment. "That's not a big problem. Brother, you can apply for the small and micro support loan. We can give you 3.3%. I review the special support, and Manager Vance approves it. As long as it doesn't exceed $500,000, it's easy." Ethan was instantly delighted. Dropping the rate from 1% to 3% would save more than half the interest. This money was well spent. However, Ethan wasn't very willing to cooperate long-term with these greedy people. Once or twice was fine, but if it happened often, they would definitely raise the stakes. Ethan raised his glass and said seriously, "Then I leave this matter to Brother Liam. Please put in a good word with Brother Vance, too." Liam Tate clinked glasses, smiling. "No problem." Ethan chatted with Liam Tate about the specific application process and details for over half an hour, then got up to go to the restroom outside. Just as he finished, he ran into Leonard Miles at the door. Leonard Miles had a friendly smile on his face and handed him a cigarette. "Boss Ford, shall we go aside and chat?" Facing Leonard Miles' invitation, Ethan was a bit surprised, curious to see what his private intention was. "Sure, this way. Let's go to the rest area." The two walked together to the rest area outside the lobby and sat on a bench. "Boss Ford, let's not beat around the bush. Team Leader Tate just talked to you." "Yes, Brother Leonard. It's all settled." Ethan responded casually, waiting for him to state his purpose. Leonard Miles pondered for a moment and said, "I know Liam Tate. He asked for a lot, didn't he?" Ethan heard the underlying meaning in his words, calling Liam Tate by his full name directly, suggesting dissatisfaction with him. Ethan held up 4 fingers but didn't speak. TSK. He really dares to open his mouth like a lion. "Boss Ford, I think cooperation depends on seeing the partner clearly. The last feed company, Ray Kai, the first time was 3, the second time was 6. Leonard Miles said to himself, then stared at Ethan, wanting to see his attitude. But he didn't see any surprise on Ethan's face. Instead, he was calm, as if he expected it. Leonard Miles continued, "If Boss Ford cooperates with me, you can have fewer worries." Hearing this, Ethan's face moved slightly. "Brother Leonard, actually a little more or a little less doesn't matter to me. Besides, aren't I cooperating with you and Brother Vance?" Leonard Miles shook his head. "Boss Ford, you understand what I mean." Of course, Ethan understood. Leonard Miles wanted to bypass Spencer Vance and Liam Tate and do this himself. However, Spencer Vance was the department head. Bypassing him now was almost impossible. Unless Leonard Miles intended to move up. But for Ethan, the risk of this matter outweighed the benefit. He didn't want to get involved. A few tens of thousands more or less didn't affect him much. His only goal was to get the loan to solve the computer equipment procurement for the cyber cafe project. As long as the procurement was completed, the 3 cyber cafes could open for business and make money immediately. Brother Leonard, in my opinion, whether cooperating with you or Brother Vance, the difference isn't big right now. But we can communicate more in the future. Ethan gave a response, but it was vague. At the same time, he was telling Leonard Miles that helping him rise to power didn't have much benefit for himself. Leonard Miles heard it and let out a long, "Oh," then smiled. "All right, Boss Ford is right." Neither of them spoke plainly, having tested each other. "Boss Ford, don't worry. Submit the application materials tomorrow. I'll process it for you as soon as possible, and keep an eye on it personally." Leonard Miles released goodwill. "Ahaha. Then thank you so much, Brother Leonard." Ethan thanked him happily. While they were chatting, they suddenly heard a commotion coming from the direction of the private rooms. Waiters were rushing over. "What's happening?" Leonard Miles stood up abruptly, looking stunned. Ethan stood up and looked. It was exactly the direction of his private room. A crowd had gathered. Without a word, he ran over quickly. When he ran to the door of the private room, he saw Spencer Vance and a balding middle-aged man wrestling, both with obvious scratches on their faces. Waiters were trying their best to separate the two. "Stop!" Ethan and Tank squeezed through the crowd and separated Spencer Vance and the bald man. "Brother Vance, what happened?" Ethan asked in a deep voice. Something happening to Spencer Vance in the private room. If not handled well, it might affect his business. This sudden situation caught people off guard. "FCK, dead punk, why the hell did you grab my woman?" Spencer Vance shouted angrily. Anger and alcohol had made him lose some reason. The bald man also reeked of alcohol, looking drunk as he cursed. "FCK your mother. So what if I asked Shally to have a few drinks with me? I grabbed her. What are you going to do about it? I'll fking kill you. FCK. The bald man had a fierce look on his face. Saying this, he tried to kick Spencer Vance again, but Ethan kicked his leg away, blocking him. Amidst the shouting match between the two, Ethan figured out the situation. Damn it, fighting over a hostess. But these two were already drunk. Alcohol went to their heads, and neither would back down, escalating from a verbal argument to a fist fight. Ethan's face sank. Spencer Vance was supposed to do business for him. If this matter wasn't handled well, the loan would be in jeopardy. "Call your manager over." Ethan turned and said to the waiters. Seeing Ethan blocking Spencer Vance, the bald man became even more annoyed and shouted abuse at Ethan. "FCK, kid, get lost, or I'll kill you." Saying that, he swung a fist at Ethan. Bang! Unexpectedly, Tank attacked first, delivering a heavy kick that sent the bald man flying into the wall. Tank rolled up his sleeves, shielding Ethan behind him, and whispered, "Boss, that guy's people are coming. Take manager Vance and leave first." Ethan looked back. Sure enough, the bald man had a group of brothers swarming over, surrounding them and pinning them at the private room door. There were a dozen of them, all looking sleazy, a group of thugs. "FCK's mom, Buster, was it that guy who touched you?" A youth in a skeleton shirt glanced sideways at Ethan and Tank, cursing. The bald man called Buster, being helped up, pointed at Ethan's nose and cursed. "FCK your mother, you're fking asking to die." Seeing so many people on the other side, all looking tough, Spencer Vance broke into a cold sweat. He sobered up a lot, but fear grew in his heart as he shrank behind the private room door. Buster Cobb smoothed back his shiny bald head, leading his men 2 steps closer to Ethan and Tank. "You FCK, you were the one who kicked me just now, right?" "FCK." Buster Cobb suddenly punched Tank in the stomach. Tank endured the pain without retreating, continuing to shield Ethan, fists clenched, ready to fight. The atmosphere at the scene instantly tightened, like a powder keg ready to explode with a single spark. Ethan flashed through countless thoughts in that instant, considering various possibilities and the impending conflict. Finally, he reached a conclusion. Strike first to gain the upper hand. Strike late and suffer. Ethan suddenly punched Buster Cobb in the face, following up with a kick to his groin. Bang! The kick had considerable force. Coupled with Cobb's slow reaction, he collapsed on the spot, losing his combat ability. Get him! The moment Ethan moved, Cobb's lackeys reacted and began to besiege Tank and Ethan. Ethan endured the punches and kicks from others and, together with Tank, grabbed the fierce skeleton shirt youth who had just been acting tough. When one side is outnumbered and power is extremely unbalanced, only by focusing on one person is there a chance. Ethan locked the skeleton shirt youth's neck, using him as a human shield as they retreated to the door of the private room. FCK your mother. The skeleton shirt youth struggled frantically, shouting curses. But the next second, a piece of glass pressed against his neck, and his whole body instantly froze. The others also froze, not daring to act rashly. It was Tank. Tank had picked up a broken beer bottle, the only sharp weapon available. FCK, stab me if you have the guts. Skeleton Shirt shouted at Tank, trying to act tough, betting that Tank wouldn't dare. But Tank grunted and applied force, cutting a line on his neck. Blood seeped out. Now, the Skeleton Shirt youth didn't dare make a sound. But the others at the scene still glared at Ethan and Tank, ready to continue the fight at any moment. Two of them had already pulled out switchblades. Ethan's heart sank. If the conflict escalated again, he might be in danger. One slip up, and he might end up with a few extra holes in his body. Suddenly, just then, a team of men in security uniforms surged up, shouting loudly, "Nobody move!" Behind the security guards were over 20 young men wearing black t-shirts or shirts. One middle-aged man in a black t-shirt rushed out from the crowd and kicked one of Buster Cobb's lackeys flying. Buster Cobb slowly stood up. Seeing the person in front of him, a look of shock appeared on his face. See Camel." Yes, the middle-aged man was Camel. Camel didn't answer him. Without a word, he slapped him across the face. Smack! The slap was extremely heavy, knocking two of Buster Cobb's teeth out. His right cheek swelled instantly. Slapped in the face, Cobb showed no anger, only fear of Camel. He was also from the streets, so naturally, he knew Camel. And of course, he knew the big boss standing behind Camel was Victor Vane, the Reaper. Buster Cobb covered his face, afraid to make a sound, glancing fearfully at Camel. Camel glared at him and cursed. FCK, who let you cause trouble at the Grand Era? Don't you f***ing know whose territory this is? FCK. Saying that, Camel gave him another slap. Buster Cobb broke out in a cold sweat all over. He was completely beaten sober and responded weakly. Sorry, Brother Camel. Cobb's other brothers dared not make a sound, knowing the man in front of them was not to be trifled with. After the security guards confiscated the switchblades from the crowd, they automatically split to the left and right, clearing a path in the middle. Camel, do you know this person? A low voice sounded, and Victor Vane, dressed in a black suit, appeared unhurriedly before everyone. Ethan naturally saw Victor Vane too and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The crisis was now resolved. Boss Vane. The other waiters greeted Victor Vane respectfully. Hiding behind the private room door, Spencer Vance also saw Victor Vane. Amidst his shock, there was mostly relief. So this was Vane's place. Then he was safe. He had naturally heard of Victor Vane's legend. That was a society boss. Even the president of the development bank had to give Victor Vane face. Boss, I recognize this kid. Buster Cobb, from the train station area, Camel replied. Oh. Victor Vane just responded casually, glancing coldly at Buster Cobb. Just being stared at once, Buster Cobb felt like he had fallen into an ice cave. His spine went cold, and he lowered his head, not daring to meet his gaze. Vane scanned the scene and suddenly saw Ethan. Seeing Ethan holding someone in a lock, he was somewhat surprised. HM, Brother Ethan. Ethan kicked the skeleton shirt youth away, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, squeezed out a smile, and greeted, Hey, Brother Vane. Victor Vane stepped forward, looked Ethan over, and laughed dumbly. What happened? How'd you end up like this? Are you hurt? Hearing Victor Vane's concerned tone, Ethan smiled, took a few punches and kicks. I'm fine. Then Ethan briefly recounted what happened. It was simple, a fight caused by grabbing a hostess. After hearing it, Victor Vane nodded and said gently, Oh, I know. Brother Ethan, don't worry. I'll handle this. Thanks, Brother Vane. Ethan grinned. Inside the private room door, Spencer Vance heard their conversation and was shocked to the core. Ethan was so familiar with Victor Vane. Victor Vane was willing to stand up for Ethan. Their relationship was extraordinary. A huge wave rose in Spencer Vance's heart, and his eyes looking at Ethan changed. Ethan and Victor Vane were so close. It seemed that money, perhaps, shouldn't be taken. On the other side, Buster Cobb's intestines were green with regret. Drunk, he had forgotten whose territory this was. And that kid was so familiar with Victor Vane, completely unexpected. What was this kid's background? Before Buster Cobb could figure it out, he saw Victor Vane approaching. "Vevane? Boss. E. Buster Cobb's tongue tied in knots, not knowing how to explain. Victor Vane slapped him. His strength was even greater, knocking Buster Cobb directly to the ground. I said anyone, is allowed to cause trouble in my place. Did you take my words as a breeze past your ears? His voice made the hearts of Cobb's dozen brothers tremble. No one dared to speak, and no one dared to help Cobb up. At this moment, Victor Vane's aura was extremely powerful, like an insurmountable mountain pressing on their hearts. "V-Boss Vane, I wouldn't dare. I'll never dare again." Buster Cobb knelt on the ground, begging urgently. Victor Vane kicked him with a cold face. "Today, you need to learn a lesson. Camel, take him down. Handle it by the rules." Camel gave a sinister smile and responded, "You got it, boss. Take him away, and this bunch of kids." With Camel's order, the security guards and men in black swarmed up, detaining Buster Cobb and his dozen brothers and taking them away. A group of waiters immediately came to clean the scene. The bloodstains and glass shards on the floor were all swept away, restoring normalcy. Victor Vane turned back to Ethan and smiled. "Brother Ethan, join me for a drink?" He spoke lightly, as if nothing had happened just now. Sure, no problem." Ethan smiled and nodded. At this moment, Spencer Vance ran out of the private room, came to Victor Vane, and said politely, "Hey, Boss Vane." "Hello, Boss Vane. You know me?" Victor Vane looked him over. "First time meeting, but I've admired you for a long time. In the city, who doesn't know the great name of Boss Vane?" Spencer Vance smiled obsequiously. "Oh, you are? Hey, Boss Vane, I'm Spencer Vance from the City Development Bank, Wall Street branch. Very happy to meet you." Spencer Vance introduced himself. Spencer Vance thought to himself, if he could climb up the relationship with Victor Vane through Ethan, that would be great. Telling people later that he knew Victor Vane, that would be impressive. Ethan Ford glanced at Spencer Vance, reading the bank manager's expression like an open book. It wasn't a bad thing. At least Spencer would be more attentive when processing the loan application. "Victor the Reaper," Vane chuckled lightly. "I'm truly sorry for spoiling the mood tonight. All expenses are on the house. Let's go have a few drinks together." As a man who made his fortune in the rough and tumble world of business, Victor knew how to handle these situations. Waiving the bill was just a gesture of attitude. Great. It's an honor to drink with you, Vic," Spencer Vance said with a delighted smile. The group went upstairs together, Ethan and Victor walking in front, chatting and laughing. Leonard Miles looked on with surprise. It seemed this young Mr. Ford was truly not simple. On the third floor, there was a private suite reserved exclusively for Victor's inner circle. Once inside, Wayne Tank Turner handed out cigarettes to everyone. His face was marked with several bruises, one eye nearly swollen shut like a panda's. Victor took a cigarette, looked at Tank, and praised, "This little brother of yours is solid." He turned to Ethan. "Ethan, your friend here looks like he can really hold his own." Tank scratched his head and grinned. "I have to be. Ethan's my boss. I'd put my life on the line to make sure nothing happens to him." Victor laughed heartily. "Good. Very good." Ethan felt a surge of emotion. Truly, thanks to Tank just now. If it weren't for him, I'd be the one on the floor. Only through adversity do you see true friendship. That's a real brother, Victor mused. I used to have a crew of brothers just as solid. Speaking of this, Victor's expression suddenly darkened, and he cut himself off. Ethan noticed the shift and changed the subject. "Vic, you really saved my life today. I can't thank you enough." Victor chuckled softly. "Small matter. By the way, how is your friend in the hospital doing?" "He's much better, though it'll be another half-month before he can be discharged," Ethan replied, surprised that Victor brought it up. Victor smiled. "The wounds are starting to heal, right? Some stitches are already coming out." Vic, how do you know that?" Ethan asked, astonished. "My sister works at Chicago General. She mentioned it to me on the phone last night," Victor said, seeing Ethan's shock. "I see. I didn't know you had a sister," Ethan realized. Victor flicked the ash from his cigarette and said calmly, "I rarely mention her to anyone. I just want her to stay far away from me. After I stabilized my position in Chicago, I made her move out and live independently. I don't allow her to mention my name outside, either. It's normal that you didn't know." Ethan nodded in understanding. Victor was a man of the underworld. Making enemies was inevitable. Being too close to family could bring disaster upon them. It seemed Victor was well aware of the dangers and had made arrangements early on. At this moment, Spencer Vance came over with a drink. Vic, thank you so much for saving us today. I'd like to propose a toast to you. Victor smiled faintly, raised his glass, and downed it in one go. Others followed suit, and the suite soon became lively. They drank for over an hour. This was technically the third round of the night. Ethan had downed another six-pack worth of beer and was feeling 7 or 8 parts drunk. Anymore, and he'd black out. Seeing it was getting late, Ethan forced himself up to say goodbye. Victor, whose tolerance was legendary, remained clear-eyed despite the rounds of toasts. Seeing Ethan walking unsteadily, he allowed him to leave, promising to invite him to his home for a drink another day. Before they left, Victor thoughtfully arranged for one of his guys to drive them back. It was too late for the dorms, so Ethan and Tank had to go to Ethan's home. By the time Ethan got back, it was 2:00 a.m. Tank dropped him onto his bed, and he fell asleep instantly. Ethan didn't know how long he slept. When he groggily woke up, he glanced out the window and saw it was pouring rain, bean-sized drops drumming against the glass. The sky was dim, so he couldn't tell the time. He instinctively reached for his phone, finding it still in his pocket. Checking the screen, he saw it was already 2:00 p.m. the next day. Ethan gave a bitter smile. He was awake, but his brain felt heavy and foggy, the aftermath of a hangover. That was a long sleep. He struggled to sit up, patted his head, and rubbed his temples to clear the haze. The next moment, he felt parched, his throat burning like smoke. He turned his head and noticed a glass of honey water on the nightstand. Did Mom make this? Ethan didn't care. He grabbed it and gulped it down. In moments, the honey water was gone, and he felt much better. Suddenly, the bedroom door opened. It was Grace Miller. Stinky Ethan, you finally slept enough. Look at you. Why didn't you drink more? Grace glared at him, complaining, but in her hands was a tray with breakfast, milk, toast, and oatmeal. I reheated it. Eat up. Feeling better? Headache. Grace set down the tray and sat beside Ethan, her voice soft with concern. Typical sharp tongue, soft heart. Ethan felt warm inside. It was great to have a girlfriend like this. He smiled and held her hand. I'm Fine. Just drank a bit too much last night. If you say you're fine, but what about the bruises on your face? Don't think you can pull a Tank and tell me you walked into a door, Grace said, pouting angrily. She could tell at a glance he had been in a fight. Ethan laughed dryly, knowing he couldn't hide it from Grace. Last night, I was drunk and a little something happened, but it's okay, just a small friction. Great. Did you get drunk and get into a fight? Grace puffed out her cheeks, staring at him as if she were about to erupt like a volcano. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Not good. Little Grace seemed angry. Cough, it happened suddenly. I didn't want it to. Ethan shrugged, explaining helplessly. Grace pinched his cheek, angry. Great, fighting and not telling me. Did you lose? If you lost, you deserved it. Ethan. In local slang, this girl was really something else. I didn't lose. Won. Ethan replied, twitching the corner of his mouth. Grace finally let go and hemphed. That's more like it. But to ensure you don't lose fights in the future, I think it's necessary to continue your special training. I must exercise you. Ethan thought of her dark special training, and his face lengthened. Little Grace, no need, right? Are you just angry and finding an excuse to fix me? Grace looked surprised. Hey, you guessed it. Ethan. Little Grace, don't. Grace put her hands on her hips, glaring at him. You have to whether you want to or not. Little Grace, I won't be able to take it. Stinky Ethan, I can take it anyway. Is there no room for negotiation? No. Just once, 10 minutes, okay? No, all day. Hey, Grace Miller, do you want to torture me to death? Torturing you now is better than you dying out there next time. Ethan saw Grace pouting, still looking a bit angry, and thought he needed to calm her down. He rolled his eyes and beckoned to Grace. Little Grace, come here for a sec. What? Grace glanced at him and leaned in. At this moment, their faces were very close, feeling each other's breath. The corner of Ethan's mouth curved into a wicked smile, and he suddenly kissed her. MMPH. Grace, caught off guard, had her lips captured. Her eyes widened, and her pretty face instantly turned red. She wanted to pull back, but Ethan held the back of her head firmly. Her mind went boom, blank. All emotions vanished, leaving her to Ethan's mercy. After a dozen seconds, Ethan finally let her go, smacking his lips as if savoring the aftertaste, looking unsatisfied. Stinky Ethan. Grace blushed, hitting his chest with a mix of anger and amusement. Ethan saw this and felt secretly smug. Hey, looks like little Grace isn't angry anymore. Indeed, nothing between a man and a woman can't be solved with a kiss. If one doesn't work, then two. Grace, you look so beautiful in this sailor outfit today. I couldn't help myself. Actually, you have to take the blame. Who told you to be so good-looking? Ethan said seriously. Grace was amused. You always the smooth talker. Fine, I'll let you off this time. Not again. Go shower, you stink. Ethan chuckled. Let me finish breakfast. Oh no, lunch first. I am starving. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed and devoured the food like a whirlwind, filling his stomach in no time. After eating, Ethan went to shower. Grace watched TV in the living room while peeling an apple, waiting for Ethan to finish so he could eat it. She muttered while peeling, "Humph, stinky Ethan. Only this princess treats you this well. Don't know if I owed you in a past life. Peeling fruit for you. You're dreaming." Despite her words, she smiled sweetly in the end. Stinky Ethan had been so busy lately, staying up late. Was he tired? Maybe. Make him some vitality soup later? Yes, he should replenish his energy. If I make him soup personally, he'll definitely be moved, right? Yes, absolutely moved. She pondered, imagining Ethan's happy expression after drinking the soup. Sigh, Master Ethan, you really have a life of a young master. I'll be merciful and make you soup personally. A while later, Ethan came out of the bathroom, drying his wet hair. Grace, why did you peel so many apples? Ethan asked doubtfully, looking at the 3 large apples on the plate. Grace said matter-of-factly, for you. I heard eating fruit helps with hangovers. Ethan looked at the 3 large apples. They must have weighed a pound. Cough, Grace, that's true, but isn't this a bit too much? Grace glared at him. Will you die if you eat more? This princess peeled them personally, and you won't eat? Ethan laughed dryly. Eat, of course I'll eat. I'll eat everything my baby peeled for me. Saying so, Ethan sat beside Grace and started gnawing on an apple. Grace felt sweet inside, hearing, "Baby, you eat first. I'll get the rubbing alcohol to wipe you down. It heals faster." Grace patted his shoulder and got up to get the bottle. In that era, for injuries, a bottle of medicinal liquor or liniment was the go-to, often from a village recipe, and worked wonders. Grace brought the bottle, and a strong smell filled the air, pungent with alcohol. Ethan, having been drunk last night, felt a bit nauseous smelling the alcohol. Grace rolled her eyes at him, teasing, "What's the situation? Pregnant? How many weeks?" 10 weeks, Grace. The child is yours. You have to take responsibility," Ethan said with a pitiful look. Grace. Master Ethan, I find your face is thicker than the earth's mantle. Ethan chuckled. Thanks for the compliment, I'm honored. Grace sat beside him. Sit still, don't move. I'll apply the medicine. He sat up straight, watching Grace pour the medicinal liquor and gently rub it on his face with her fingers. The touch of her fingers felt like electric currents. Grace leaned in, expression serious, rubbing slowly. Looking at the pretty face close at hand, he felt a burst of warmth. Grace was really charming when she was gentle. Stinky Ethan, do you want soup? Grace asked suddenly while rubbing. Soup? What soup? Ethan paused. Vitality soup. To replenish your energy, Grace said seriously. No need. You haven't tried it. How do you know I need replenishing? Tried what? Cough, nothing. If you want soup, we can order takeout. No way. That's expensive, and their ingredients might not be good. Don't tell me. You're not thinking of making it yourself, are you? Ethan looked alert. Bingo, you guessed it. Since you guessed right, I'll reward you with a big bowl of soup. Grace smiled sweetly. But Ethan's heart sank with a bad premonition. You aren't thinking of doing it today. Grace laughed. Bingo, congrats. You guessed right again. Reward me with something else for guessing right. Ethan turned his cheek. No way, you smell like alcohol. Then this. Ethan puckered his lips. Grace blushed, thinking no one was home anyway. Smack. Grace pecked him like a dragonfly touching water. Okay. Stinky Ethan, don't push your luck. Little Grace is so good. Ethan smiled smugly. Okay, face is done. Nowhere else, right? Grace asked. There is, Ethan said seriously. Where? Grace looked him over. Ethan turned around, pointed to his butt, and grinned wickedly. Here too. Grace. Get out. She kicked Ethan off the sofa. Ouch. Little Grace, you're murdering your husband. Ethan rubbed his butt and stood up. Grace covered her mouth and laughed, then pretended to be a weak woman, looking wronged. How could I bear to? Seeing this, Ethan quickly jumped to the other side of the sofa. Grace Miller, don't come over. I have the flash dodge. Is the flash dodge like this? Ow. After fooling around for half an hour, Ethan and Grace held an umbrella and went to the market. The autumn rain drizzled, filling the air with mist and a cool chill. Little Grace, have you decided what ingredients to buy? Ethan asked curiously. Of course, my mom taught me. I remember everything. Grace smiled confidently. Good, as long as you don't put in weird stuff, Ethan teased. Grace spun the umbrella, sprinkling water droplets on Ethan. If you can talk, say more nice things. I'm so smart and clever, wouldn't I know what to put in? You said that last time, too. Ethan grinned. Grace blushed, defending herself. Cough, last time was a mistake. I definitely won't make a mistake this time. Hope so. Master Ethan, is your skin itching? Hee hee, skin isn't itching, heart is itching. Ethan glanced at Grace. Wearing a white and light blue sailor-style outfit today, she looked exceptionally good, especially with the skirt swaying as she walked, revealing smooth, long legs that caught the eye. He secretly swallowed. Why did that feel a bit perverted? Grace blushed and spat. Be serious? I'm ignoring you. Arriving at the market, Grace headed straight for the chicken stall. Vitality soup meant chicken soup. In this region, soup was a culture. Everything from pork knuckle to yam chicken to black bean carp soup. Chicken soup made up a third of the recipes, especially for energy. Ginseng chicken soup was famous. Grace went to the stall and asked the owner, "Ma'am, do you have any old hens?" The owner, a middle-aged woman, lifted a slaughtered hen with one hand. Eat doll. This one right here, 2.5 years old. Ethan stepped forward, looking surprised. A chicken this size is 2.5 years old. Of course. I raised it. I would know, the woman said. My chickens are the best in the market. I let them listen to music every day. This one could even sing and dance. I only had the heart to slaughter it after 2.5 years. Ethan laughed. Does it dance to One Hot Chick? Yeah, they listen to all kinds of songs. Haven't heard that one, though. The owner shook her head. Grace whispered, Stinky Ethan, isn't One Hot Chick an idiom? Is there a song? Not now. Maybe in the future. Ethan grinned. You're definitely talking nonsense again. I don't believe you. Grace said haughtily. Ma'am, how much per pound? The owner said. $7 a pound. Want it? A bit expensive. Can you make it cheaper? Grace started bargaining. Can't go lower. That's the market price. The owner said firmly. Ethan saw Grace hesitating and knew the price was a tad high. Ma'am, will you sell for $6? I saw the 2 stalls up front drop to $6. It's afternoon now, still not dropping prices? Ethan smiled. Actually, he hadn't asked and didn't know the price. He was guessing. Hearing the other stalls drop prices, the owner's face changed, and she quickly said, Fine, fine, 6 it is. Grace looked delighted. Weigh it for me, and chop it into pieces. She gave Ethan a secret thumbs up. They bought the chicken and other ingredients for the soup, then returned home. Grace prepared ingredients in the kitchen, turning to Ethan, wait outside. I can handle this myself. Oh, really? Ethan laughed dryly. He was genuinely worried she'd concoct some dark cuisine. Don't worry, I studied, Grace said firmly. Okay, be careful. Ethan shrugged, smiling helplessly. Okay, rest assured. Go wait in the living room. Grace pushed him out. Ethan shook his head and sat in the dining room waiting. Inside the kitchen, Grace secretly took out a piece of paper with a recipe she had copied from the computer. Just follow the steps. After prepping ingredients, put chicken in cold water. Grace was serious, following the recipe step by step. Her focus was more intense than during the SATs. About half an hour later, Grace put all ingredients into the clay pot and finally sighed in relief. After boiling, high heat for half an hour, then turned to low heat. Grace took out her phone and noted the time. Done. Should be no problems this time. Grace, you can do it. She cheered herself on. After cleaning up, Grace walked out of the kitchen, clapping her hands. Okay, done. I'll be waiting to see the results. Ethan rubbed her head. Just wait. It'll definitely impress you. Grace said proudly. Ethan hugged her, lifting her up. I believe in you. You're the best. Grace blushed, but enjoyed the intimacy. And, being encouraged by Stinky Ethan, felt really good. Put me down quickly. What if your parents come back? Grace glared at him with shy eyes. She was held firmly in Ethan's arms, her body pressed tightly against his, unable to move. Let them come. Besides, aren't they not back yet? Ethan smiled wickedly. Saying so, Ethan placed her on the sofa and leaned over her. Their faces were close, breaths mingling. Grace felt her heart racing, as if it were about to jump out her chest. Stinky Ethan, what do you want? Get up. Ethan pinched her small nose, teasing, Not getting up. You should know what I want to do. What? Grace gathered her courage, lifted her chin, and stared at him, her watery eyes full of charm. You guess. Ethan held her chin, grinning. If I'll tell your parents you're bullying me again, Grace said, blushing. Then I'll bully you. Bully you for a lifetime. Ethan smiled. With that, Ethan slowly lowered his head, moving closer, lips slightly moving. As he approached, Grace's heart pounded. She felt nervous but mostly shy. She slowly closed her eyes, lips parting slightly, actively welcoming him. Just as their lips met, the sound of the door opening echoed. Click! The door opened. It was Mary Ford back from grocery shopping. The sudden sound scared the soul out of them. Ethan and Grace sat up straight with perfect synchronicity. Grace is here. Mary's voice came from the door. Yes, Aunt Mary. Grace responded, getting up in a panic. But caught off guard, she tripped over Ethan's foot and nearly fell. Ethan reacted quickly, grabbing her waist, but her momentum pulled him forward and he fell onto her back. Now, Ethan was pressing Grace down from behind, a pose that left much to the imagination. You too. Mary stared at them, jaw dropped, mouth agape in shock. The bag of groceries in her hand fell to the floor. In this moment, Ethan and Grace wanted to die of embarrassment. They could have dug a castle with their toes. Cough, Mom, don't misunderstand. It's not what you think. Ethan got up and defended. Mary reacted, her face also showing awkwardness. She quickly said, Cough, you guys continue. I didn't see anything. Oh my, I forgot to buy garlic. Looks like I have to go out again. Mary picked up the groceries, put them on the table, and laughed. I'm going to the South Market to buy garlic. The garlic there is good. I estimate I'll be back in about an hour. Without finishing her sentence, Mary closed the door and left. Ethan and Grace froze, staring at the door in astonishment. Anyone could tell what Mary meant. Ethan didn't even have time to explain further. Stinky, Ethan, it's all your fault. Grace stood up, face red as an apple, glaring at Ethan in embarrassment. Cough, I didn't expect Mom to come back so soon. Looks like I need to go to the room next time. Ethan said seriously. You're terrible now, look, Annie saw us. Grace pinched his waist. It's okay. I have thick skin. My mom understands, Ethan said brazenly. Can't be bothered with you. I'll check the soup. Grace said haughtily and went to the kitchen. Ethan smacked his lips. That was a pity. The sparking fire was doused by a bucket of cold water for Mom. He had been planning to show off his skills and let Grace know the power of his silver tongue. Master Ethan, come smell this. In the kitchen, Grace suddenly shouted with joy. Ethan walked over quickly. Before even entering, he smelled the chicken soup. He walked up behind her, hugged her, and whispered in her ear, What did little Grace call me for? She turned to look at Ethan, smiling happily. Do you smell it? Does it smell good? Ethan took an exaggerated deep breath and praised. Smells it. So good. Little Grace, your cooking has improved. Amazing. Hearing Ethan's praise, a look of pride appeared on her pretty face. Of course, I'm very smart. If it's a success, shall I make it for you often? Sure. Mainly because you made it. I like it all. Ethan doted. Grace rolled her eyes. Even if it tastes bad, you'd like it? Liar. She knew her cooking level and didn't have much confidence. Ethan scraped her nose, smiling dotingly. Little fool, because I love you. So, I like whatever you do. I'll give you the biggest encouragement. I believe you'll get better and better. Grace felt sweet inside, a happy smile on her face. She turned around, stood on tiptoes, and pecked Ethan's right cheek. For being such a sweet talker, this is your reward, hee-hee. One reward isn't enough? How about 10? Ethan turned his left cheek. Grace laughed happily, pushed his face away, and broke free from his embrace. I'm not letting you off that easy. Saying so, she ran away. Little Grace, don't run. Ethan instantly turned into the big bad wolf and chased after her. An hour later, the rain stopped. Mary Ford was in a good mood, humming a tune, carrying half a bag of garlic into the neighborhood. Mary, what's making you so happy? A middle-aged woman stopped her bike at the gate and asked curiously. Oh, nothing, just happy today, huh? Mary waved her hand, laughing. The woman scratched her head, confused. Mary was secretly delighted. It was the first time seeing her son and Grace so intimate. Besides, the two kids are grown up. It's normal to have something going on. Maybe I could be a grandmother in 2 years. Mary was even happier thinking about it, but then thought, Ethan and Grace are still in college. Would it be too early? Oh, so conflicted. Such a happy trouble. With mixed thoughts, Mary walked downstairs and ran into Lily Miller, just back from the factory. Mary, why so happy today? Good news. Lily teased. Oh, not exactly good news. Let me tell you just now. Mary vividly described the scene she saw upon entering the house, the intimacy between Ethan and Grace. Lily listened and covered her mouth, laughing. Really? Looks like those two are getting along very well. All right, we should find time to remind them. Remind them of what? Mary asked. Lily rolled her eyes and laughed. Safety, of course. Tell them to be careful. Don't create a life accidentally. Some things need to be taught in advance. Mary Ford nodded upon hearing this. Makes sense. I'll find time to do some work on Ethan. Yes, safety measures are necessary. Exactly, Lily Miller laughed. She was open-minded and didn't oppose the two having some special behavior. They were adults. But for the sake of their studies, and since Ethan and Grace weren't that old, there was plenty of time to discuss creating life later. The two went upstairs chatting and laughing. Arriving at the door, Mary cleared her throat and knocked. Ethan, Grace. I bought soy sauce. Oh no, garlic. I'm back. She shouted at the top of her lungs, as if afraid Ethan couldn't hear. After shouting, Mary opened the door but didn't enter immediately. Instead, she continued to shout, Cough, Ethan, I'm back. I'm really back. Mary poked her head in. Seeing Grace wearing an apron, holding a ladle, and smiling, she finally walked in. Grace is making soup? Yes, Annie. I made some soup for Master Ethan. Grace blushed, her skin thin. Oh, such a good child. Mary beamed. Lily followed in, heard Grace, and teased, Oh, they say a daughter is a warm little jacket, but this jacket isn't worn on me. Daughter, you have to make soup for me next time, too. Grace stuck out her pink tongue and laughed. Okay, Mom. Next time I'll make you silky chicken soup. Grace, where's Ethan? Mary glanced around the living room and didn't see him. Him? He's in the bathroom, Grace replied casually. Mary paused. You guys are that fast? Andy, what fast? Grace tilted her head, confused, thinking Mary meant the soup. Oh, about an hour was enough. Mary was astonished. An hour, that's not bad. Grace, let me see your soup. It smells so good. Mary walked to the dining table and looked into the clay pot. She saw the chicken and a layer of goji berries floating on top. Hiss, that amount of goji berries. Cough, looks like Grace really wants to replenish her son's body. Grace said sweetly, ginseng chicken soup, using a 2.5-year-old hen. All right, it looks very replenishing for the blood. Mary twitched her mouth and smiled. Yes, Master Ethan has been tired lately. Replenishing him properly. Grace served the soup. I'm good, but still, moderation is good, Mary reminded subtly. What did Annie say? Moderation in what? Grace was confused. Cough, nothing. I'll go cook. Today you all eat here. Mary laughed dryly and ducked into the kitchen. Lily covered her mouth and laughed. Daughter, you really have heart. But Ethan's mom is right. Young people should exercise moderation. With that, Lily went to the living room to watch TV. Grace stood there completely bewildered. At this moment, Ethan came out of the bathroom, changed into fresh clothes, hair wet, looking freshly showered. He had indeed showered because while fooling around with Grace, he knocked over the trash can and fell, getting dirty. Good afternoon, Aunt Lily. Ethan greeted Lily with a smile. Ethan, is military training hard? Lily asked. It's okay, I can hold on. It ends next week, almost through it, Ethan replied. Oh, save your energy. Train well. Otherwise, it's easy to overdraw your stamina, Lily instructed earnestly. Okay. Ethan scratched his head. Why did it feel like there was a hidden meaning in her words? Grace called out to him, Master Ethan, come taste. I made it personally. Coming. Full of anticipation, Ethan went to the table. Grace had already served a bowl. Seeing the large amount of goji berries floating on top, Ethan twitched his mouth. Little Grace, why put so many goji berries? Oh, my mom said goji berries are good, replenishes blood and energy, and men should eat more, so I put a little extra. Hurry and taste it. Grace urged excitedly. This was her first time making soup. She was a bit nervous. Ethan picked it up, blew on it, and took a sip. It actually wasn't bad. Tasted quite savory. Looks like Grace's cooking really improved. Ethan's eyes lit up. Tastes good. This was genuine praise. Hearing this, Grace was overjoyed, jumping up excitedly. Oh yeah, big success. I'll have a sip too. Grace took the bowl from Ethan, tasted it, and nodded with satisfaction. Really not bad. Huh, this princess indeed has talent. She then excitedly offered some to Lily and Mary, receiving their approval too. This made her dance with joy, wanting to tell the whole world. Before long, when Frank Ford and George Miller returned, they were also forced to try it. That meal, Grace received many praises, her eyes curving into crescents with happiness. Night. Ethan and Grace walked hand in hand in the neighborhood. The night breeze was cool, adding a chill after the autumn rain. Grace, wearing the sailor outfit, felt cold in the wind and leaned closer to Ethan for warmth. Seeing this, Ethan took off his outer shirt. Cold? Wear my shirt. He draped the shirt over her, leaving himself in a thin t-shirt. Grace felt warm inside. You gave it to me. Aren't you cold? Ethan gently pulled her into his arms. Little fool. Holding you, I don't feel cold. Grace rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Sweet quiet. Being held by him, She only felt warmth. At this moment, she felt time stop, the whole world, just the two of them. Stinky Ethan, if time could stop at this moment forever, how good that would be. Grace murmured, "Can't stop here. We haven't married, haven't traveled together, haven't had kids. There are many, many things I haven't done with you," Ethan said softly. Grace looked up, eyes curved into cute crescents, expecting, "You still want to do things?" Anyway, just do things I love to do." "Things you love to do?" "Nothing specific. Little Grace, as long as I'm with you, whatever I do is something I love to do." Grace saw the slightly wicked smile on his face, flashed to some specific images in her mind, and blushed instantly. She pinched his nose with her slender fingers. Say it. What messy things are you thinking about?" "Nothing. Absolutely nothing," Ethan said with a straight face. "TCH, I don't believe you. You rascal, you're bad." Grace smiled and pinched his nose. Her laughter was crisp as a bell, drifting in the night wind. "Then do you like me being this bad?" Ethan teased. Shyness flashed in Grace's eyes. She buried her head in his chest and whispered like, "What? You say what?" "I didn't hear clearly." Ethan pretended not to hear. Annoying." Grace blushed and pinched the soft flesh at his waist hard. Before she could pinch a second time, Ethan dodged quickly, grinning. Hey, can't pinch me, can't pinch me." Grace put on his shirt properly and puffed out her cute cheeks. "Don't run. See how I fix you." Chasing and fleeing, their laughter echoed in the complex. When they ran to the last building, they suddenly heard a commotion ahead. Ethan turned to look. A crowd was gathered near the stairwell, whispering and watching something. "You leave right now. This isn't your home." Suddenly, Wayne Tank Turner's loud voice rang out, filled with anger. Ethan frowned, sensing trouble, and ran over quickly. Slap. In the crowd, a scruffy middle-aged man with a beer belly raised his hand and slapped Tank across the face. "FCK, is that how you talk to me? Without me, where would you be?" The man cursed at Tank. Tank already had bruises on his face. Now, with another slap, his left cheek swelled up, but his eyes were red as he stared coldly at the man. "You don't deserve to be my father. I don't have a gambling addict father like you. I consider you dead." The man was Tank's father, Buck Turner. "What did you say? You cursing me to die?" Buck raised his hand to slap him again. But before the hand could land, Tank grabbed it. "I won't let you hit me again. You don't have the right. Get out." Tank threw his hand off. "Don't come back asking for money. I won't give you a cent." Tank's eyes were red, glistening with tears. He had been heartbroken by his biological father long ago. Since Buck started gambling 5 years ago, the family had fallen apart. Because Buck gambled and owed a mountain of debt, collectors would come to their house, splashing red paint, threatening them. His mother lived in fear every day, once even hospitalized from shock. Later, Buck didn't dare stay home and moved out to continue his debauchery, coming back every month or two only to demand money. "Damn it, I should have raised an egg instead. An egg would be better than you. Unfilial thing." Buck cursed loudly. "See if I don't beat you to death." Buck grabbed Tank's collar, ready to strike. The onlookers gasped in fear. Suddenly, a hand firmly grabbed Buck's arm. "Stop." Tank turned and saw Ethan. He suddenly felt relieved. Ethan was here. Buck squinted and recognized Ethan. "Ethan Ford, what's it to you? Don't meddle in my business." Ethan pushed his hand back and said coldly, "Uncle Buck, this is the last time I call you uncle. Look at yourself. Calling you uncle is giving Tank face. If I didn't give face, you're just a gambling dog. Tank is my brother. His business is my business. He knows he's the son and can't hit his father, but I dare to. I'm telling you, get out immediately." When Ethan got angry, his presence was imposing. His words carried such momentum that they actually intimidated Buck for a moment. Buck showed a hint of fear in his eyes, but relying on his status as an elder and not wanting to lose face in front of old neighbors, he pointed at Ethan's nose. "Who do you think you are? Tell me to leave, and I leave? I'm not leaving without money today." Ethan took 2 steps forward, standing in front of Buck, firm. "Not a penny. Get out." "FCK." Buck raged, throwing a punch at Ethan's face. Ethan dodged quickly, instinctively tilting his head, then grabbed Buck's collar to counter. They grappled and fell onto the wet ground, covered in mud. Tank, afraid Ethan would get hurt, rushed to pull them apart. But Buck, having done manual labor in the past, had strength and wasn't easily pulled away. Instead, he pulled Ethan up and wound up a punch about to strike. Bam! Suddenly a foot flew in, kicking Buck square in the stomach. The kick had immense force, making Buck let go of Ethan and curl up like a cooked shrimp, face twisted in pain, unable to make a sound. Ethan froze, turned, and saw Grace. Next, Grace grabbed one of Buck's arms and executed a superb judo throw. Thud! The slam was heavy. Buck howled miserably, unable to stand. It all happened in the blink of an eye. Some didn't even see Grace's movements clearly before Buck was subdued. The crowd stared at Grace, dumbfounded, jaw-dropping shock. A nearly 200-pound man, defeated so easily by her. That skill, that movement, clean, efficient, awesome. Ethan stared blankly, reacting only after a while, giving Grace a thumbs up. Grace, you're amazing. Grace clapped her hands, relaxed. Small stuff. How can there be a fight without me? But you couldn't even beat him? No wonder you got beat up yesterday. Grace shook her head, looking disappointed. Ethan, that winky face. Please, miss, even 3 of me. No, 10 of me wouldn't be your match. Grace walked to him, patted his shoulder, and comforted. Master Ethan, don't panic next time. I'm here. I said I'd cover you. Except for me. No one can bully you. Ethan. First time feeling like a kept man. Okay, little Grace, you're awesome. You're high and mighty. You're amazing. I'll rely on your blessing. Cover me for life. Grace looked smug. Hee, you're welcome. While they spoke, Buck struggled to crawl up, immediately backing away from Grace with fear. You all wait. FCK. Grace rubbed her fist and snorted coldly. Wait for what? When your bones disassemble? Buck's face changed drastically. He turned and sprinted out of the crowd, running away. After Buck ran, the onlookers dispersed, but their eyes on Tank held more pity. To have such a father, truly pitiful. Tank walked to Ethan, smiling bitterly. Ethan, I'm really sorry for getting you into this mess. Ethan was covered in mud now. He chuckled lightly. It's okay. We're brothers. Tank was moved, but thinking of Buck gave him a headache, and he sighed. Ethan saw his worry, patted his shoulder, and comforted. Don't worry. There's always a solution. Come on, let's go to your place and talk. Tank paused, then seeing the confident smile on Ethan's face, felt like he saw a ray of light. Ethan went back to shower and change, then returned to Tank's home. Tank's mother, Martha Turner, greeted him warmly, pouring tea and serving snacks, busy as a bee. Ethan urged, Aunt Martha, stop busying yourself. No need to be so polite. Do you still treat me as an outsider? Martha smiled warmly. No, just some snacks. Ethan, you helped Wayne so much. I have to thank you properly. She knew that since Tank started working with Ethan, he made good money, saving up every month. Last time, just the bonus was $20,000, more than she earned in 5 or 6 years. Any family with $10,000 in savings was considered well off. So, she was incredibly grateful to Ethan. Hey, what thanks? We're family. Don't say that in the future, or I won't come next time, Ethan teased. Okay, Annie understands. You guys chat. I'll prepare some fruit. Martha turned to the kitchen to continue working. Ethan, my mom is like this, can't stop for a moment. Tank shrugged helplessly. Hey, your mom is diligent. The older generation is like this, always endless work. My mom was like this for a while too. Ethan chuckled and took out a pack of cigarettes. Let's go to the balcony. Some things aren't good to say in front of your mom. Tank understood. If Buck was mentioned, Martha would be sad and sighing. They walked to the balcony, looking at the dark night sky and the dim streetlights below. Ethan handed him a cigarette. Do you know where your dad likes to gamble? I know. The Titan Motel, Tank replied, lighting the cigarette. Ethan lit one too, blew a smoke ring, and asked, that place hasn't been shut down yet. Heard it was reported a few times, but useless. No evidence found every time. Tank frowned. Ethan, what are you planning? Ethan looked calm. Let me ask you first, do you want your dad to stay like this, muddling through life, gambling, owing a mountain of debt? A gambler's end is miserable, forced to a dead end by debt collectors. No money to pay, only 2 paths, death or crime for money. Unless he wakes up completely, quits gambling, and works hard to pay the debt. Do you think he's that kind of person? Tank shook his head. Impossible. Ethan blew smoke, looking at Tank seriously. We can give him a chance. If he remains stubborn, then we can only. Ethan whispered something in his ear. Tank looked shocked, but then his face settled. Ethan, I'll listen to you. It's the only way. I don't want to see him crippled or dead. Maybe this is the best way for him. Ethan patted his shoulder. Tank, I know your heart isn't stone. You soften for friends and family. If you think it's okay, then it's okay. Tank smiled bitterly, smoking silently. At this moment, Ethan's phone rang. It was Frank Zane. Ethan picked up after 2 rings. Haha, Brother Frank, good evening. Brother Ethan, am I disturbing your good time? Huh. Frank Zane's voice came from the other end. No, what good time? Just chatting with a brother. Calling so late, got something good for me. Sort of. Good news. Sterling Tech has started the liquidation process. According to the ratio, The contract breach compensation is $500,000. Not a small sum. Oh, that is good news. Ethan was surprised Sterling Tech could still be squeezed for that much money. According to the agreement, this money was to be split 3 ways. That meant over $100,000 each. Big money. Yes, I plan to celebrate. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll host lunch with Julian York from Star City Enterprises. How about it? Brother, do me the honor. Ethan frowned slightly. Mentioning this and inviting for a meal, something fishy was up. Maybe. Planning to redivide the money? Very likely. It was a big cake. Ethan kept his composure and smiled. Sure, no problem. Brother, just send me the address in time. Frank Zane laughed heartily. Good. I'll have Lana book the place and notify you. Okay, no problem. Haven't had a drink with Brother Frank in a while. Ethan chuckled warmly. Haha, Brother Ethan, me neither. It's a deal then. See you tomorrow afternoon. Frank laughed. They exchanged pleasantries for a while, tones friendly as if they were old friends. After chatting, Ethan hung up. Ethan, what does Frank Zane want? Tank asked curiously. Ethan flicked the ash, his expression cooling. Inviting me to drink. To discuss the Sterling Tech compensation. Huh? Wasn't that agreed upon long ago? Tank asked, surprised. Ethan sneered. He wants to renegotiate. You know, Sterling Tech's compensation is $500,000. This? $500,000? That much? Tank was shocked. He thought the bankrupt Sterling Tech paying $100,000 or $200,000 would be a lot. $500,000 was unexpected. No wonder Frank Zane wanted to renegotiate. Ethan, does Frank want more? Tank asked. Originally, Star City took 40%, Frank and Ethan 30% each. Star City played a huge role, and without them, the setup wouldn't work. Everyone agreed on Star City's 40%. Now that the sum was larger, Frank might want to resplit. Ethan nodded coldly. Would he care if it didn't benefit him? Calling me personally, there's definitely profit for him. Maybe even for Star City. He has a deeper relationship with Star City. Interest-wise, they are partners. I'm the outsider. Tank's face changed. He whispered, Ethan, what do we do? By the original split, we get $150,000. Ethan saw his anxiety and laughed. Tank, you're wrong about one thing. Until that $150,000 is in our hands, it's not ours. That's called expected income. But expected income doesn't equal actual income, nor does it equal our money. Tank was confused, muttering, isn't it still our money? Ethan, this. Ethan blew a smoke ring. Although the money is tempting, do you think I'd fall out with Frank over it? Tank shook his head. No, we still get a lot of stock from Southbridge traders. Ethan smiled. So, Frank Zane assumes I won't flip the table over this money, which is why he dares to propose renegotiating. But will I give up that money easily? No. Even if redistributed, I'll make sure he doesn't get it. Tank suddenly had a realization. Ethan, the key is Star City. Ethan patted his shoulder happily. Tank, nice. You're improving. Meanwhile, at the Grand Court Hotel suite, Frank Zane sat shirtless by the bed, smoking, eyes gleaming as if calculating. Frank, want to wash up? Lana Cole came out of the bathroom in a white robe, hair wet, radiating the charm of a beauty fresh from the bath. Her cheeks were flushed, eyes watery. Later, Frank saw Lana, eyes reigniting with fire, wanting to devour her. Lana walked to the bed, drying her hair. Frank, who are you calling? Ethan Ford. I plan to treat him and Julian York from Star City to lunch tomorrow. Frank chuckled, smoking. For the Sterling Tech money. Lana paused. Yeah, $500,000. We put in a lot of effort. We should get more. Greed showed in Frank's eyes. If it were a difference of 10 or 20 grand, he wouldn't care much. But this was hundreds of thousands. How many times in life can you make hundreds of thousands? He wanted more. Lana frowned slightly. Frank, the ratio was agreed upon. If changed, Ethan might have an opinion. Frank stubbed out the cigarette and sneered. So what if he has an opinion? What can he do? I took most of Sterling Tech's business. At least 50% of Westford Electronics stock comes from me. Add Charlie Boone and Joe Thompson's stock. It's over 60%. Without us suppliers, what does Westford sell? Ethan is smart. He'll see that and give in. Frank was confident he had Ethan pinned. Ethan wouldn't flip the table for this money. No smart man would. By lowering Ethan's share, he and Star City could take more, tens of thousands, maybe over 100,000 more. Lana pondered, worried. Frank, Ethan, that young man doesn't seem like someone to offend. Relax, I know what I'm doing, Frank smiled. I plan to increase supply to Ethan later and propose swapping stock for equity. If he's smart, he'll see the potential. He has sales channels. I have the most stable, complete, lowest price products. If we cooperate, making money is simple. Lana rolled her eyes. Frank, you're renegotiating the split, and he'll discuss equity with you? Unlikely. Frank narrowed his eyes, a ruthless glint appearing. He'd better agree honestly. Otherwise, don't blame me for turning hostile. I control West Ford's lifeline. Crushing him isn't hard. I wanted to enter the computer parts retail sector for a long time. If Ethan cooperates, it saves me trouble. If not, I'll just have to take the harder route. Lana was shocked. Frank was finally moving into retail. Indeed, West Ford was a leader in local parts sales. If Frank wanted in, they either partnered or became competitors. Lana felt a surge of worry. She knew Ethan wasn't a pushover. He was a clever fox. The Sterling Tech affair proved he wasn't easy to deal with. Frank, do we really have to go there? Lana asked worriedly. Frank reached out, pulled her into his arms, stared in her eyes, and said coldly, What? You want me to be just a distributor forever? The manufacturers and retailers take the bulk of the profit. We just drink soup. Now I want to eat meat, and I'm not allowed? Why can't I eat meat? Lana Cole looked into his cold eyes and felt a chill down her spine. In that moment, Frank Zane seemed much stranger. Frank! Lana moved her lips, wanting to persuade him further, but the words didn't come out. She knew Frank wouldn't listen. Frank stroked her back gently, chuckling. Don't worry. Maybe Ethan wants to work with me too? Worst case, with my supply advantages, entering the retail market is a piece of cake. Baby, you believe I can succeed, right? Lana squeezed out a forced smile and didn't speak. Frank looked Lana up and down, fire rising in his heart, and pushed her onto the bed. Baby, let's go again. Lana blushed shy. No, I just showered. Shower again later. Frank laughed lewdly, hands already wandering. Just as things heated up, a phone ring shattered the atmosphere and interrupted them. Frank sat up, checked the phone, and frowned. He hesitated, but answered. You bastard. Why aren't you back yet? Where the hell are you this late? A woman's scream came from the other end, piercing his eardrum. Frank glanced back at Lana and whispered, I'm entertaining clients. What are you fussing about? Sleep first. I'll be back later. If I drink too much, I'll crash near the office. Great, Frank Zane. Business over family? Fine, don't come back then. Live with your business. The woman shouted angrily. Frank quickly soothed, don't be like that. Can't you understand me? No understanding. Coming back tonight? If not, don't come back ever. Tomorrow I'm taking our son back to my parents. Frank quickly replied, Okay, I'm coming back, all right? Don't threaten to go to your parents. If your dad finds out, what do I say? Hey, you know to fear my dad? Can't you fulfill your duty as a husband and father? The woman mocked. Frank looked awkward. All right, I'm coming. He hung up. Frank sighed and started dressing. Lana heard everything clearly. Seeing Frank leaving, she looked reluctant. Going back now? Frank looked at her apologetically. Yeah, you heard. I have to go. Lana's eyes instantly welled up. Choking back tears, she said, Can't you stay with me a bit longer? She knew he wouldn't stay, but she wanted to say what was in her heart. Only endless bitterness remained. Frank waved impatiently. Enough, don't you start too. I'll make it up to you another day. Lana felt cold inside. She stood up, staring at him. Frank, when are you divorcing her? You dragged it out year after year. Have you ever thought about my feelings? Have you? Lana got agitated, crying and pounding his chest, venting her grievance. Frank looked displeased, grabbed her wrist, and glared. Can you stop making a scene? Calm down. Lana's wrist hurt. She dared not move, tears streaming down her face. Frank threw her hand off, straightened his clothes, and said calmly, We'll talk about this later. I know what I'm doing. I'm leaving. Take tomorrow off. Go relax. With that, Frank took a stack of cash from his wallet, threw it on the bed, and walked out. Lana watched his back disappear, then looked at the money on the bed. The room fell into a dead silence. After a while, she couldn't hold back, threw the money off the bed, wiped her tears, took a pack of cigarettes from the nightstand, and lit one. She smoked, walked to the window, the cigarette glow flickering against the backdrop of the bustling city night. She blew a smoke ring, looking at the view, eyes filled with endless loneliness. The next day at noon, continuous rain. Southbridge Traders, Frank Zane's office. Haha, come, Julian, taste my collection of Wui De Hong Pao tea. Frank sat at the tea table, pouring for a middle-aged man with gold-rimmed glasses, slicked back hair, and a pot belly. The man had narrow eyes that disappeared when he smiled. He was Julian York, boss of Star City Enterprises. He took the cup, sipped, and praised, fragrant. Good tea. Julian drank, crossed his legs, and took out his cigarette case. Frank immediately offered his parliament. Julian, try mine. Julian scoffed lightly, pushed his hand away, and opened his own iron case, revealing cigars. I prefer these. Frank heard the disdain, smiled awkwardly, and said, Is that so? When did you start liking these? Should have said so. I'll have someone send you a few boxes. I have plenty. His words implied he also smoked cigars and had stock. Julian smelled the cigar, took a deep breath, eyes closed, enjoying the aroma. This stuff depends on personal taste. Many flavors, cream, coffee, nutmeg. Intensity, smoke volume, craft differ. Even same flavor feels different. Only what suits you is best. This was a retort to Frank's offer. What Frank sends might not be what he likes. Frank understood, didn't mind, and laughed. Huh, didn't know you studied cigars so much. Educated me. Flavors vary, but to me, they all taste like money, right? Everyone likes the taste of money. Julian cut the cigar, toasted it with a special lighter, fully lit it, and puffed. True, everyone likes money. I agree. Julian smoked, squinting through the thick smoke. Frank knocked on the table, staring at him. Speaking of money, Julian, the sterling tech compensation, $500,000. I think we need to discuss how to handle it. Oh, I understand. You mentioned it. But, what's your final thought? Julian asked calmly. I think Julian put in the most effort. Without you, this wouldn't have worked. I feel, out of the $500,000, you should get $230,000, Frank said politely. Julian raised an eyebrow. That was $30,000 more than discussed earlier. Frank giving up profit. Hey, everyone contributed. Isn't it inappropriate for me to take so much? Julian pretended to decline. What's inappropriate? Appropriate, very appropriate. Think about it. Could this work without Star City? Frank said seriously. Julian blew smoke. Then how do you and Ethan split? I take $200,000. Brother Ethan gets $70,000. I think no problem. We did the work. Taking more is right. Ethan is smart. I believe he'll understand. Frank said casually, downing his tea. His tone and action showed absolute confidence. He felt Ethan only provided an idea. $70,000 was already exceeding expectations. Originally, they thought Sterling would pay maybe $150,000 total, giving everyone $40-50K. Now it was different. $70,000 was a fortune, and he was certain Ethan wouldn't offend him in Star City over this. Julian looked enlightened. After several talks, he finally understood Frank's mind. The extra money was Frank's goodwill to win him over. Thinking a moment, Julian raised his cup. Since Frank thought it through, I have no objection. Frank's eyes flashed, poured tea, and toasted. Hey, Julian, I said it. It's what you deserve. Evening, the Emerald Palace. Ethan drove to the entrance. Tank got out from the passenger side. Ethan, why did Frank meet here? This place. Class seems average. Tank muttered. Having been through some experiences, he knew business banquets usually chose better spots. The Emerald Palace had good food, but the environment was lacking, suitable for family gatherings, not business. Ethan locked the car and smiled. What else could he mean? Things were close. Or rather, hinting that my relationship with him should be good. Tank scratched his head, confused. Ethan didn't explain, waved his hand. Let's go. Good food tonight. They entered, heading to Frank's reserved suite. The waiter opened the door. Ethan saw Frank and Julian with their secretaries already drinking tea. Haha, two bosses, really sorry. Traffic was bad. Little brother is late. Please forgive. Ethan put on a warm smile, greeting them. Frank stood up to welcome him, teasing. Brother Ethan, you have to punish yourself with a drink later. He should do. No problem. Ethan shook his hand. Ethan turned to shake Julian's hand. Julian, rare to see you out drinking. Whatever happens today, must enjoy. Such an opportunity is rare for me. Ethan subtly elevated Julian's status. Julian looked pleased. Hey, look at you. Planning to get me drunk? Huh. 1,000 cups are too few when drinking with a confidant. Not going home sober tonight, Ethan replied. Tank listened, feeling his own mouth was too clumsy in comparison. Finally, Ethan greeted Lana specifically. Secretary Cole is even more beautiful today. Lana covered her mouth and laughed. Mr. Ford is joking. Am I not the same every day? Hey, you're glowing. If I find a secretary, I have to use Secretary Cole as the standard. But I guess it's hard to find one in the whole city. Ethan joked. This praise made Lana a bit shy. Mr. Ford, stop flattering me. You have a beautiful little girlfriend, still looking at my standard. Ethan smiled non-committally. After pleasantries, everyone sat. Food and wine came. They started eating and drinking. The table was full of jokes, Ethan's wit keeping the atmosphere great. 3 rounds of wine, 5 flavors of food. Frank suddenly said, right, invited Julian and brother Ethan today because I have something to discuss. Ethan held his glass, eyebrow raised. Here comes the business. He wanted to see how Frank planned to cut this cake.